Hello, everybody. Angel Cortes here, the OG Pumpkin Podcast. My guest today is a lot of you guys have been asking when is he going to be on. When is he going to be on, and he is finally on. He is the man, the legend, Benji, Manny
Bog, yeah.
Manny Bog. He is the CEO of Thrash-N-Raid.
Yeah, Angel, I appreciate you having me on today. And dude, I love you, man. I'm so glad I'm here, dude. I missed you so much, dude, because I feel like, we had that vacation,
Yeah.
We didn't get to run into each other while we were on the East Coast, and it feels like forever since.
Dude, we were so close yet so far.
I know, right?
Dude, so I mean, we were talking way before all this and stuff like that, and we'll hit some of those subjects. But for some of the people, some of the listeners that don't know, who is Benji? What are you doing now? What did you do right before what you're doing now?
Yeah, so what I do now, I'm the CEO of Thrash-N-Raid. I'm also the COO of 6 Feet Above. And with both of those companies, it was they're both aligned with skateboarding. Thrash-N-Raid is a skateboarding and apparel company, and 6 Feet Above is a nonprofit that connects and supports veterans battling with mental health issues, which include PTS. And we use skateboarding as a coping tool and as a way to bring people together and utilize something else besides substance abuse to help deal with mental health issues, right? So our mission with Thrash-N-Raid is to help people rise above their barriers, and that is my personal why. Prior to Thrash-N-Raid, I was in the Marine Corps for 15 years or 15 and a half years, and was a Marine Special Operator for majority of that time. And leading into my time in the Marine Corps, I had a interesting childhood, just like you. I mean, and you know my story,
dude. And yeah, so we have. I'm glad you brought it up, right? Because I didn't want you kind of gloss over it, but what you're doing is fucking huge, right? I met you through, I would say, one of the most interesting stories of me meeting people, dude. I was in Bedford, Virginia. Somebody who I know messaged me like, "Hey man, I know this might be like a hit or miss, but do you want to go to Virginia for something called the Hero Games, and to go support Ronnie, which is Rod's wife, who Rod was killed in Afghanistan." And immediately I was like, yeah, I'll go there. I had to look in the map, like, where is Virginia? Because Annalea, my wife, Annalea, she's like, where are you going? And I was like, Virginia. She's like, is that the East Coast? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally might be the state over. I don't even know the states that touch California. Fucking ignorant ass Californian. And I was like, let me look this up. And then I was like, all right. And he's like, I'm not gonna be the person who messaged me. Well, I guess I don't have to say his name, but it's the main guy behind. He doesn't want me to say his name.
Yeah.
The main guy behind Hoodlums and Brigands. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll go. So I go over there, and I don't fucking know anybody besides like Ronnie. But even then, it's like, I don't even know if she's gonna remember me. Like the last time I saw her in person, she looked like she had not eaten or slept in a long time.
Yeah.
And the Hero Games CEO or owner is an active duty Green Beret, and his brother, who owns the CrossFit gym, picks me up. I don't even know his brother. The population of Bedford is 5,000. Dude, my high school was 5,000.
Yeah.
So as soon as I land, dude, immediately I'm like, I am in another country.
Yeah.
And he picks me up, and his name's Johnny. Johnny's like super nice, big old smile. Like, dude, like you don't know me, man. You were just told by your brother, and you have like a big smile, friendly face, and you're like, hey man, can I help you with your bags and so on. And I was like, oh shit, dude. And I was like, yeah. we do the Hero Games event, which people that don't know, the Hero Games is, I don't want to butcher the story, but JD, the Green Beret, his brother, Johnny, owns a CrossFit gym, which is Sharp Top CrossFit in Bedford. So if you have a chance to stop by and go get a workout, even if it's just one time, go do it. But Johnny's, customers or clients or members, right?
Yeah.
We're like, hey man, can your brother like smoke us? Like give us a little taste of what SF guys do? And they said yeah, but they made a barbecue after, right? So JD smoked the shit out of these fucking members, and they had a barbecue and they loved it. And they're like, let's do this every year. And then JD and Johnny being who they are, we're like, well, look, let's make this better. So they figure out a way to make it better, and they realize, oh, this kind of costs some money. Maybe we should charge people just to cover the costs. And they do that, but they end up making more money than just covering the costs. Like, well, I don't need the money. Do you need the money? I don't need the money. And then they're like, well, what do we do with the money? Like, how about we give it to a fallen service member's family? And that's how the Hero Games was started.
Yeah.
So then that's how Ronnie fits into this clearly. And then I go support there, and we do the Hero Games. This time I'm a participant last year. This was last year. And dude, it had been a while since I'd been smoked, because I mean I go to the gym and just do stuff like that, but it had been a while until somebody was yelling at me like push-ups, sit-ups, like carry the ruck over your head. And I remember
it's like a assessment and selection style, right? Like different events.
You carry logs, you carry sandbags. It's a team event, and you have to carry a 45-pound ruck or backpack or whatever it is you have. Some people just did the vest with 45 pounds. It's all weighed. And you go through creeks, you go through mud, you get dirty, and I'm like, dude, I gotta step up. Like some of these people don't look like they're super athletic or used to this. And I was so tired at the end. And JD goes like, hey man, aren't you from California? I was like, yes, yeah. And he's like, oh, that company, one of the sponsors is from California, and I saw your logo, said Thrash-N-Raid. I'm like, Thrash-N-Raid. I'm like, kind of looks like it's the In and Out.
Yeah.
Thrash-N-Raid, In and Out. And I was like, but they're from California. I was like, dude, that's cool, man. And Ronnie looked happy, and she was happy. She looked, and then by being there and talking to her, she was happy. She was happy. So it made me happy. And that's when I was like, man, I don't know who Thrash-N-Raid is, but I as soon as I went home, I looked it up, and I just sent you a message like, hey man, thank you for sponsoring an event for my friend's family, on spouse that's behind, and you said, I can't remember what you said, but I said, let's meet up, and then I think you said, well, I'm actually doing a toy drive at a skate park.
Yeah.
Right, you gave me the directions, and dude, it's about like almost 2 hours, depending on the traffic.
Yeah, but California, it's
So I was like, okay, well, I don't know this guy. I don't even know what the fuck he looks like. I was like, all right, let's go do it. And I took my family. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I took it as you must get a bunch of random messages, right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And me saying, hey man, like we should link up and do this. I saw it, or at least the way my thought process was, I was like, that's a test. He's testing me like, hey, well, you want to come and hang out and do this and that, and I don't know what you want from me, but this is what I'm doing if you want to come be part of it. Was it something like that?
Well, I just know that, I was like, hey, this dude's a good dude, and if he wants to come out, like, let's link up, because I'm always just down to meet people that are also helping in the community, so...
And before that, have you heard of OG Pumpkin?
No, I'd never heard of OG Pumpkin. Never heard of you, and so it was super rad that it was like you were doing similar stuff in the community, and it was.
And dude, this is how I know you were a good dude, because I show up, I remember I took 2 toys, and I was like, well, he said a toy drive. I took 2 toys, or maybe it was 3, and I was like, yeah, 3 toys is good. 3 toys is good. It shows commitment. And then you show up with a fucking car full of shit, like brand name shit, and I was just like, dude, oh my god. And I saw how you interacted with the kids, and more importantly, how your kids interacted with you. So I'm like, dude, this dude's doing this for the community. I see how he's with his kids. He's a good dude. And then that took off. It was JD saying like, hey, he's from SoCal. You should check him out. Dude, started a friendship. Like, dude, I consider you one of my best friends. Like, one of my best friends.
That, dude.
And
likewise.
dude, we've hung out, and then the more we talked, like during the drives to fucking DSG events, you know, you have a lot of time to fucking kick, you know, like 6 hours in the car.
Yeah.
And dude, you were telling me your story, dude, and I was just like, fuck, like people need to hear this, right? So for some people might see successful businessman, you are, friendly dude, cool dude. We're in special operations, but before that, man, that's not what happened, right? That's not what.
Yeah.
Start as early as you want.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that, dude. And it's really funny because when I was thinking about this podcast, it reminded me of when you and I both talked about the video that we had done with an egg, right? With an egg productions.
Oh, yeah.
And your video still, you know, being chopped up and it's being worked, right?
Yeah.
And you know, my video came out and you know, right away, I think I cry in like the first minute, right? Because I'm telling part of my story and I'm like, and when I was initially doing that, I was like, well, this is going to be about Thrash-N-Raid, right? It's going to be about the business, about, you know, skateboarding. And then, you know, they start asking me these questions like, you know, tell me about your trauma, right? Like, how'd that make you feel, right? And then so when you were like, hey, I'm going to do that too, I'm like, get ready, dude. And
But you didn't tell me, dude.
Yeah, I didn't tell you all that much. Yeah, exactly.
and then we meet up at DSG training, and I'm not sure if you said it or I said it. I was like, man, dude, I thought they were gonna do a veteran entrepreneur video. They were gonna ask me about the business. I was like, dude, it was almost like a therapy session.
Yeah, dude, for real.
You know, like they fucking asked like, so, you know, so how was it when your mom told you that they didn't love you?
Yeah.
And that you were in their life. I was like, yeah, you know, they would tell me stuff like that, and they're like, how'd that make you feel?
Yeah.
And then I would like answer that, and they're like, so how does that mix with your kids? And I was just like, damn, dude, this is a fucking therapy session, dude. Like,
well, and I bring that up because I'm like, all right, well, you know, like when we go to the DSG events, and you know, sometimes I open up a little too much, and so for this one, I'm gonna feel it out as I go.
Okay.
But you know, one thing I'll say is I am extremely grateful for just everything that's happened in my life, good and bad, right? And a lot of it I could take full accountability for. And I've understood that over the years, and I wasn't always like that before. I was like victimizing myself, like, man, all these bad things happen to me, and you know, oh, woe is me, right? And then and so I want to start off by saying, you know, all the things the choices I made, good and bad, right? Those are things that I could take accountability for. And
so we don't go too much into detail, right? So the accountability thing, dude. It's safe to say you were a knucklehead. You did some bad stuff. You weren't a straight A student and stuff like that. But the accountability thing, what happened? Do you remember the time or day when you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna hold myself accountable?
No, you know, I don't remember the exact moment, but I just remember it was just a culmination of different events happening that led me to basically just turn my life around, right? Mm-hmm. And to give people the context, my mom and dad, they had split up, you know, early on in my life. I think I was around like 7 or 8 when it happened. But prior to that happening, I had everything I wanted, right? And I showed you, like, I was a child actor, right? I was in commercials and stuff. I was in that McDonald's commercial.
Dude, I could not fucking believe that. He showed me the McDonald's commercial. What else?
And then I did Del Monte ketchup, and you know, and I was showing you Larissa's video of her. Or I don't know if I showed you that, but she did not Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson.
Yeah, that itself was crazy. That both of you did that.
Yeah, so she, you know, and my wife and I didn't know each other during that time when we were both actors, you know, because she was in like Barbie commercials and Gap and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. And I was doing other commercials too. And so leading up to prior to my mom and dad divorcing, I had it pretty good. Pretty much had anything I wanted, right? Because I was using the money I got from acting to, I mean, I had like a foosball table, air hockey, like basketball court. Like my sisters and I, like we had all the, like the Power Wheels stuff. And so like all the neighbors, they'd be like, wow, look at it. Like, you guys got everything, right?
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And, and so when my whole life got flipped upside down, when there were certain events that happened between my mom and my dad, that I went from having everything I wanted to living in a hallway of an apartment complex, with my, my brother and sisters and my cousin, and, in this small little apartment in East LA in Monterey Park. And I remember thinking what the heck happened, right? And as you're a kid, you don't understand, the whole backstory behind things. It's just all of a sudden, just life just switches, right? So
Yeah.
It was a very traumatic event during that time when I couldn't see my mom or dad, right? I couldn't see them unless there was a social worker present, right? And the cops are asking me like, what are all these bruises on you? And like, could you explain this and this? And it was just, I didn't understand. I loved both my mom and my dad, and I didn't know why I couldn't see them anymore, right? And so, a couple years went by in that situation, and eventually my mom got custody of us again. And during that time, I was a latchkey kid, right? I had free roam to do whatever I want. I didn't have my dad in my life. And, it was like, it gave me the ultimate freedom to do whatever I wanted. And because I was searching for, something, right? I was searching for that mentorship and for that guidance, and it wasn't there, but it was coming from things like skateboarding and punk rock and the community that brought me in. And that's what got me into skateboarding and punk was just that ultimate freedom to do whatever I wanted. And it was awesome, right? Like hopping fences and doing that. And you and I, like when we would go skate, this past year, it was almost like, I felt like we were in high school again.
Dude,
like, dude, right? Like getting kicked out.
We got kicked out of how many places? That one day?
Dude, that one day we got kicked out of like 5 or 6 different spots. Like, dude, we were hopping, like midway hopping a fence, like security guards like rolling up. And I'm like, dude, what am I, like junior high again? It was awesome.
It felt good. That was the first day I skated all day in a long time since I was in high school. And getting kicked out and slapping stickers on places you're not supposed to. And And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Dude, I was like, fuck the system, man.
Yeah, dude, it felt good, man. And it just, I felt like, and it was really funny because we had one of the guys on our team, he's like 12 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, here we are, like 2 veterans that, pretty successful careers. And we're supposed to be this role model to this kid that's with us. And we're like, yeah, dude, let's hop this fence, and like, let's, go slap these stickers on these places where we're not supposed to, but no, and that kid's a good kid,
Yeah.
But so like I was into all that, right, and getting involved in that, and what subsequently it got me involved into drugs. So I was doing meth and cocaine, and those were primarily like the 2 things I was doing. And I moved out of my mom's house, lived with my uncle, who was a meth addict, and it was almost a blessing and a curse, because it was a curse because I was around it all the time.
Yep.
And so it was right there available, but it was a blessing in a way too, because it was always available. It didn't get me involved into like, other crimes where I needed the money to pay for drugs and I needed this and that. So because it was there, right? What ended up turning my life around was a lot had to do with the people I was around, right? I saw their lives falling apart. I saw people, going to prison. Some of my friends had overdosed, and then even after I had quit, and they continued to do stuff, and we lost the bass player in our band, Matt. He committed suicide, and my buddy Nick, he died from a heroin overdose, and a lot of people just ended up continuing that path. And I saw myself as like, I could foresee myself as like, wow, if I continue this way, that's exactly where I'm going to be. I'm either going to be in prison, or I'm going to be 6 feet in the ground, right? And so I ended up going to a recruiter because I was like, what the hell else am I going to do with my life? I'm going to continuation school. I've got like, 9th grade credits, and I'm a senior in high school, right? Like, don't know what I'm doing. And I remember walking in there, and I had just like that guy came to my school like months prior, and I had like blasted him like the military is the most stupid thing. I would never do that. I'm not gonna go die for oil. It's like right when Iraq kicked off, and I'm like, ain't no way. And then I'm like walking in there, showing my face like, hey, it's me, right? And like he didn't recognize me, but I just remember like going through, you know, in the Marine Corps, they show you those like 10 little tabs that say like, you know, adventure, college, whatever. Like what are the things that, and I'm like, I don't care about any of this. I just want to get out of here, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, how bad do you want a scale of 1 to 10? I was like, 11. So they're like, well, you're gonna have to do what it takes because you're like failing. You're like, you look like a meth addict, right? Like, you know, I weighed like 119 pounds or something like that. And so every day after school, and by after school, I mean, I went to school from 8 to 10 in the morning. It was just 2 hours a day at a continuation school. They just give you a packet of work.
Yep.
And I would just take those packets, go into the recruiting office, fill out packet work, do pull-ups and push-ups in between, go on runs. And I went from like 119 pounds to like 150 pounds before I left for boot camp. That recruiter basically saved me and just changed my life around, right? And just became that male role model in my life. And, you know, I'd say that after I told this story from that with an egg thing, and I put my dad and my mom on blast and all that, ever since I did that, which was only a couple weeks ago, right, or a month ago, I actually reconnected with my dad. And it was really cool was because of that happening, my dad and I sat down, we had like a 3-hour lunch and just like cried it out, went over everything. And we were like, he's like, these are the regrets I have. This is why I wasn't in your life. And, you know, and I was telling him like, I could relate, you know, based off me not being in my kids' lives and this and this. And so it was really good. And it was like out of something terrible, out of telling that terrible story of, you know, how he wasn't there for me. Some good came out of it because now I just reconnected with him last month, which is like super rad, right?
Dude,
like,
it's powerful.
Yeah. And it was I don't know. I never thought that was going to happen. I thought it was going to be like, you know, and what's really unfortunate is I thought about this. I was like, you know, he's going to be on his deathbed or something. And I'm going to end up like reconnecting with him and, you know, both say sorry, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's like, I got years and years left to reconnect with my dad now, which is really cool.
And why did it not happen before?
You know, it was like, I wanted to, after I joined the Marine Corps, I said, you know, all that stuff that happened in my past, that's behind me. And I'm going to focus on me and my future, right? So once I got married really early, I joined the Marine Corps, went to Iraq like a year later. It was like a little less than a year later from me joining the military. As soon as I got back from Iraq, I got married. And, dude, I know, right? I was like that, dude. So I wanted to get married before I left for Iraq, right? Like I was at boot, right? Like PFC, and you know, all my NCOs were like, "Do not get married. Like, you know, you're gonna deploy, you're gonna get cheated on, you're gonna, you know, whatever." Like, and so I was like, okay. I listened to my NCOs. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna get married, you know, because they're like, you know, you're gonna marry a high school sweetheart, which she wasn't. I dated all her friends in high school, which is. It's terrible, right? Because, you know, Larissa knows everything, right? And so yeah, so she's an amazing woman, you know, for more than just that reason.
Yeah.
And so after I came back from Iraq, I was like, cool, you survived the deployment, let's get married. And she was 18 and I was like 20, right? And so and then she got pregnant right before my second deployment to Iraq. Go to Iraq, and she gives birth 3 days before I come home, right? Damn. And I was supposed to come home a little bit early. It was like a few weeks before everyone else, and I was going to surprise her. And I remember I had flown from Iraq to Kuwait, and I like get on the phone with her. I'm like, you know, in like the booth or whatever, like at the rec center in Kuwait. And I remember calling her and being like, you know, surprise, like I'm coming home. And she's like, I'm in labor right now. Oh. And I was like, no. So I was like, you know, gave birth over the phone while, you know, it was pretty rough. But, you know, since then, like I just was focused on my family. Right. And even with my mom and stuff, I'd see her every once in a while, but I wasn't like I didn't call her at all on deployment, or I didn't like reach out to them for anything. And same thing with my I never reached out to my parents for support or whatever else. I was like, I'm gonna do everything to be independent and be right to my kids, right? Well, I ended up like actually doing the exact opposite. Even though I was like, I wanted to focus on my family, what I was actually doing was focusing on myself. Joining the military was not necessarily a selfish decision, because I did want to make my life better, but I also was thinking about the impact I wanted to make and help other people. And I've always been someone that's just wanted to serve others and make a difference, like a positive difference in people's lives. And so when I joined the military, I had that in mind, right? But when I wanted to join the special operations community, it was a very selfish decision, because it was after my third deployment, and I was with a force reconnaissance team, and I was a support role on that team. And I remember I was like, I'm gonna go to recon. I want to be with you guys. Like, this is what I want to do. And I remember a couple of guys on the team were like, don't go to recon. They're like, you need to go to MARSOC, because that's where the money's at. That's where the mission's at. And by the money, I mean the funding. Like, you're not going to get, we're not coming out of the rich, right? But
they don't give us checks.
No, not at all, right? But the funding, right? And you get, all that stuff's there. So they're like, don't go to recon, go to MARSOC. So I took their advice and I lied to Larissa. I was like, when I presented, the idea of going to MARSOC, I was like, yeah, it's something the Marine Corps wants me to do. It's like, I'm just, I was like, they've been trying to recruit me hard, and that's not how it is at all, right? Like you have to volunteer, you have to apply, right? So I totally was like, yeah, they want me to do this, and like, I'm going to go to the selection thing. We'll see how it goes. Right. And so,
and what did she say?
And she was like, well, if it's something you want to do, because she knew I wanted to be something more than just and being a conventional Marine, or being a Marine in general, or being like a soldier, airman, Navy, sailor, whatever, like, you've already done your time. You've done an amazing thing by serving your country, right? In my mind, I was like, well, if I'm going to be in the military, I want to be the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to have any regrets thinking that I could have been this. Like, I felt like I was physically ready, mentally prepared. I could do it. I knew I could do it. And I was thinking, if I don't, I'm going to regret it for my entire life of like never, trying out at least. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's how I justified it in my mind. But I knew that we already, my second daughter was on the way. Larissa was pregnant while I was, getting ready to go to selection. Right. And so
the more you say, like, I've known a lot of this stuff, so the listeners don't.
Yeah.
But some of it I haven't. Dude, like, if Larissa and Alia could be together listening to you speak, they look at him like, that's what he fucking did.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, we're at RASP.
Yeah.
During RASP, my second kid was coming.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah, man.
So, not to get off so much topic, but did you think, like, this is going to benefit the family? It is I selfish. You feel like a selfish thing, but did you feel that way? Like, this is going to benefit us in the long run?
I did, in a way. And the reason why I did is because, and I justified it to Larissa, like, I was like, you remember my last 3 deployments, right? Like, we had good people that I was with, right?
Yeah.
Like, I had good people in those units. Like, there was a lot of awesome mentors that to this day I still love. Like, dude, my buddy Frankie, he lives in Temecula also. Amazing guy, and he's helped me with my transition and everything else. And he was a conventional Marine. He was a motor T mechanic, and he was like not soft at all. But I consider him like one of the best Marines I'd ever served with in my life. And same thing with my buddy Preston, who's out now and he's doing stuff in the medical field now. And he was a logistics guy, and he's another guy that I could just rely on at any time. And I think that the careers that those guys had were amazing. But I wanted something more, and I knew that becoming a SOF operator was going to allow me to serve with people that were all like that were all like Frankie and my buddy Preston, how they were just solid dudes.
Yeah.
Because in those other units, you also had just like fucking knuckleheads, turds. Right? Just
fucking turds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like people that you're like, I'm gonna get killed from this guy, right?
Yeah.
And not even in like a combat scenario, like I'm gonna get killed because he's gonna do something stupid, like just in general, like in any situation, right? And And so I knew that at MARSOC they had, assessment and selection. So guys had to volunteer, they'd be assessed and selected, and then they'd have to go through another pipeline. And I knew that I was going to be surrounded with people that all want to be there, that were all studs, critical thinkers, right? And so I was like, that's where I belong. And so I knew it was going to benefit me because I thought I was going to be happier in a way, even though the missions and the job was more dangerous and complex in that way. I also felt like it'd be safer in a way because I'd be surrounded by competent people.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how I justified it to Larissa. Like, hey, look, I'm going to be around people that all want to be there, that they're not going to be like, and I don't want to throw out names because I don't want to put them on blast, but like she knows who I'm talking about. There's people from my last unit that are like, I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to be surrounded with those kind of people. Right. And so when I went to selection, I knew right away, like, this is where I belong. Because I found a group of people that were just all studs, all a bunch of goofballs, same personality, right? And I was like, hell yeah. And what's really cool is all those people that I surrounded myself with at selection all got selected too, right? And unfortunately, a lot of them didn't get to go to the same ITC class as I did. I went to one.
What is that?
So ITC is the individual training course. So that's after you do selection at MARSOC, you go to ASPOC, which is the assessment and selection preparation orientation course, ASPOC. And so that's like 6 weeks total. It's like 3 weeks of prep, and then you do 3 weeks of selection, right? And so during that process, you weed some guys out, and then you get selected, and then you have to go through 9 months of ITC, individual training course. And the way they did the classes was after you got selected, you either went to like the very next course, or it was like within a year, right? You went to whichever one, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to one, like it was like almost immediately after. And a lot of the guys I went through selection with, they went to the one after me. So unfortunately, I didn't get to go with them and go through it, but a lot of them ended up coming to the West Coast later. But anyways, once I got to ITC, it was like, it wasn't work. It was fun, right?
Yeah.
It was cool doing that stuff. And it was all the stuff I joined the Marine Corps to do. It was like all the small unit tactics and just like, just the amphibious stuff. It was just, even though it was tough, I was having a blast.
Yeah.
The only part I hated was that I was away from Larissa again, because I left her as collateral, or as leverage rather, back in California.
Yeah.
Because the training's on the East Coast, and I knew that if I wanted to come back to the East Coast, I needed to have some leverage, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, my wife's on the East Coast or on the West Coast still, this and that.
Yeah.
So I left her for 9 months to go to ITC.
So how many deployments, and then you leave her there too?
So yeah, I did 3 deployments, 2 Iraq, and then a MU, the West Packet. That's where I did the Jones Star
ITC.
mission, and then now
so
ITC.
Four different times.
Yeah.
And how much of that time is combined? How many years of that?
Man, that's a couple of years, right? Of time away already, right?
Yeah.
And that was my first enlistment, right? And so, because I had to re-enlist to go to MARSOC, and then when I was at ITC, it was like I just knew that I found a group of people that I could just really be myself around, right?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean, right? Like, because you've served both too, like in the conventional side and on the special operations side. And you know the difference in like how people are. And I just felt like I could be my true self around the special operators, right? And so after ITC, this is another way it benefited the family. Larissa never felt like she had military friends, like wives, like other wives that she could be very close with until ITC. And once I got to my unit over at 1st Marine Raider Battalion, at the time it was 1st MSOB, 1st Marine Special Operations Battalion, she got connected with the other people on my team, and it was like we were like a family, right? So, and they needed to be, because we were always gone, and so it was the wives that were back home all together, right? And so it was like any weekend or any time that we were back home, it's like we had a team event, right? So it's like all the boys back home just pounding beers and just going wild. And it was like, we had all the kids there, and it's like, people were doing keg stands and beer bongs like in the kitchen, and like, you got all the kids around you, and it's like, it's just wild.
Yeah.
And but it was awesome. But
dude, I mean, I would say for sure the special operations side, they take care of the wives and the family more in general, and they value family time. I remember our first. Do you guys call it FRG? Like,
No, it's
so it's like the umbrella group whole thing that takes care of on the family side, right? I think it's like
we call the FRO, the Family Readiness Officer, or we call it like MPOTIF, like MARSOC, Preservation of the Force and Families, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So for us, it's the FRG, right? And they're like first FRG event, and we've gone to a few on the conventional side, and I'm like, man, like these suck. Nobody really wants to talk to each other. They don't really know each other. They don't want to be here. Some couples might be arguing. Some wives look fucking pissed off, and or there's like really nothing to do. It's kind of just in a big open area. Maybe there's like some cookies or whatever.
Yeah, some Capri Suns out.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, like what the fuck, like. Oh my god, I can't believe I have to fucking. And they're always like not mandatory, but they're mandatory.
Oh, dude, yeah. Mandatory fun. Yeah.
So when 175 had their first FRG event, it happened to be near Halloween. Mm-hmm. So it was trunk or treat, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, maybe there'll be like 4 cars giving out candy. We'll get the candy.
Yeah.
Drink our Capri Sun and we'll leave.
Yeah.
Dude, we fucking show up to the battalion area and they have a fucking ice cream. Not like oh, here's your sandwich. Mm-hmm. They hire a legit ice cream company to come.
Yeah.
They had legit face paint ladies.
Yeah.
They had I don't know like 50 cars doing the trunk or treat, and they were really decorative, and they had all these cool games and jump houses and swag and all the families and wives were very like happy for you know and welcoming, and I was just like. Oh my god, like
it's night and day.
Yeah. Oh my, so life was for sure better. But yeah, man, dude, I have those guys too. Like my main mentor in life, his name's Hugo van der Wal, conventional guy.
Yeah. Right?
And have really good friends who are just conventional dudes. And I'm glad you brought that up because with the whole Instagram fake special operation guys, like, dude, if you're just a regular guy with whatever service you have and you're a good person, you're going to make it. You're going to be fine. Yes, let's be honest. Are some soft guys like, dude, you ain't soft, fuck you, I don't want to talk to you. Yeah, but the vast majority, I feel, are not like that.
Yeah, they're not like that at all. And it was really cool. I love, one thing I love about MARSOC in particular is that you can't come from the street, right? You can't be like a Navy SEAL or Green Beret, you could get a contract, right? Like the 18 X-ray contract, or you get a SEAL contract or whatever, right? Yep. But with MARSOC, you have to serve a minimum, like your first enlistment as whatever else, whether it's infantry or you could be, you know, a guy in a band, like the Marine Corps band. Like one of the guys that ended up coming to MARSOC with me, I went through ANS with. He was a drummer in the Marine Corps band, right? Like I don't think he'd ever deployed, right? He was just a drummer, right? And dude, he did his time as a drummer in the Marine Corps band. He's like, I want to be I want to go to MARSOC, dude.
Yeah.
And he did it. And the cool thing is no one was like, oh, he was a drummer, like what a loser, right? Like people like you welcome. It's like it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It's all about what you do today, right? And if you could, you know, get the job done and perform, like that's what it's about. It's not what you did before. And if anything, a lot of the non-infantry or combat arm MOSs, like they brought so much value to the teams, you know, because when you deploy in MARSOC, you deploy as a small team, right? Like on my last deployment, for example, when we were in Yemen, we had it was like 10 dudes, right? And it was like 10 Americans, and for hundreds and hundreds of miles, there's no support around you. So you're handling all your own logistic stuff, all your own, you know, just if there was something that went wrong with your vehicles, like you don't have like a mechanic with you, right? In some cases you do when you deploy, but we had this guy, Sam, and Sam was I think he was like a crash fire rescue guy before he came to MARSOC, but he was just a country boy, right? And he like knew how to like fix tractors and whatever else, and he knew how to do that stuff. So we knew we could rely on him on the team, and we had our vehicles go down, like our Hiluxes and stuff that we were using out there, and he fixed it all. Yeah. And that was what was cool, was like all these people from their backgrounds, they brought so much value to the team. And so if anyone's listening and they're like, well, if I go to SOF, I'm going to get made fun of because I'm not an infantry guy or whatever else. Like, no, dude, not at all. No. Like you're valued for, you know, the performance and what you bring to the table, not for, you know, doesn't matter what you did before.
Dude, I agree, man. Because a bunch of dudes overseas would have these skills and it's like, one, can you do your job? and then what else can you bring to the
Yeah.
table. One of the dudes was like he grew up riding motorcycles and stuff like that, so we had razors and with machine guns mounted and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and they perform very well. But he knew a lot about it, and he's like, well, is there, budget? Is there a budget to fix these up? Dude, put fucking advanced fucking parts on those things. And we probably hands down had the best razors in country,
awesome.
dude.
Yeah.
And they saved our fucking lives, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's what else do you have to offer? And so you're now you're there, and you love it, right? Your family supports, your wife always supported you.
Yeah, so and this is the thing too, is I've done so many wrong things in my life, like in my family, like not even just personally, like I've done so many wrong things in my personal life, and all the crappy stuff I've done. Like I'm just, piece of crap human being, leading up to my time in the Marine Corps, and then even during my time in the Marine Corps, just like, just the stuff I was doing, putting the boys before the family, going out, and I was cheating on Larissa, and I was doing things like, on my time away from her, that I was not a good person, right? Mm-hmm. And when all that came out, where she's like, I was found out that I was doing all this shady stuff, right? I was thinking, well, here it is. Like, I'm done. My marriage is over. My life is over. I'm gonna be just like, some of these other dudes that are gonna end up on their third, second, fourth wife, right? And I'm just gonna, that's how it is. She was like, no, we're gonna work this out. I forgive you, but you're gonna change, and this is, this. And it was almost worse. Like I was like, no, like we need to get divorced. Like that's how things go, right?
Dude, we don't deserve our women.
Dude, I don't. Dude.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
No.
And so, and it continues, right? So like, I'm during my time in MARSOC, I'm constantly volunteering for schools that aren't required. Yeah. They're good schools to have, so you could be a better asset to the team.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like when you're on a team, when you're on a special operations team, it's like, you have to find that balance of family life and your team life, right? Because that if I go to this school, if I go to Breachers, or if I go to a school that's gonna, benefit me on deployment, that could be an asset that could, save someone's life, or just benefit the team to where we don't have to bring a support guy or whatever else, right? And so I volunteered for all those things, which meant more time away from the family. And there was a time when I had gotten back from my first MARSOC deployment. I had only a couple weeks between. And then I went to a 2-month school, and I got home for like 10 days, and they're like, hey, there's this other school, but it's 4 months. I know you just got back from deployment. You just spent 2 months away again.
Yeah.
Here's another 4 months. So that's like back-to-back deployment, basically. You're only home for 10 days. Are you willing to do it? They're like, ask your wife. And I'm like, no, put me in for it. Like, I didn't even ask her yet, right? Because I was like, she'll say yes, And then I go home, and I tell her, I'm like, I got to do this school, like the team need, I didn't even ask her. It's like I told her, and that's where I screwed up, is by just assuming that everything was going to be okay. Like, she's going to go with it, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was constantly gone and away. And then I went on deployed again, came back. And when I came back from that next deployment, everyone was like, okay, we're going to go on our break to do our time in the schoolhouse. Right. We're going to leave the teams. We're going to go be instructors now. And they're like, oh, well, Benji, because you went to these schools, you're now this asset that, you could deploy again. And I'm like, let's do it. I don't want to go to the East Coast. I want to stay on the West Coast, and I'll deploy again. Let's go. Yeah. So went through the whole cycle again, deployed again. You know what I mean? So it was like, I had the opportunities to take that time off, and I didn't. I chose not to.
Yeah.
So Larissa's a saint because she's stuck around faithfully, and the other thing is she, she put up with the bull crap, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was on my very last deployment, like the one where I was in Yemen, right? We were doing a mission out there that was a counterterrorism mission, and I remember I felt like that was one of the deployments where I felt like I could really truly be an asset to the team based off of the schools and stuff I went to, right? and we were doing a lot of work, and all of a sudden I get this call. She's like, I gotta go get a biopsy because my kidneys are like really screwing up right now.
Yeah.
And kidney failure runs in her family, unfortunately. Like her dad passed away from it, her grandpa passed away from it, her uncle's got kidney failure. He's on his transplant right now. He did like years of dialysis too. And so we were hoping that it was going to skip her, right? Like they said, like, oh, it passes on to the males, right? Well, it passed on to her, and I remember having to leave deployment early to go to this for her to do her biopsy. And I came back, and it was on that deployment. I come back, and I'd already left, right? I'd already left deployment. I come back in the country, and I remember my team chief and even guys on my team tell me, like, like when you came back into country, like you're different, right? Your mind's not as focused on the mission.
Yeah.
Your mind's focused back home, because now I'm thinking like, well, I was planning on doing 20 years, and retiring, spending the rest of my time in SOF, and now I'm thinking like I have to reconsider like what am I going to do with my life now, because I can't be selfish again and say, yeah, Larissa will be fine. Like she'll do dialysis, she'll get a kidney transplant, whatever else, and I'll just continue deploying and doing whatever and leaving her and the kids. And I got 4 kids now. Yeah. It's like that'd be the most selfish thing I could do, is to put her aside, right? Her health aside, and just focus on me. And so on that deployment, I said, I'm getting out. And I just picked up gunny, which is E7, right? And that's like a rank in the Marine Corps people like strive to get. Like you want to be a gunny or above, right? And I was so stoked on it.
How old were you at gunny?
I was 30, either 31 or 32. I can't remember. Yeah, I was still pretty young, and
bro, you look young now,
dude. It's those Filipino genes, like. Dude, but and it was funny because like when I'd come back home, I'm just like goofball dude and skater boy, and like I'd come into medical like in civilian clothes and stuff, and I'd hand them my ID, and they're like, Gunny, like, fucking dude, I thought you were a Lance Corporal, dude. Like, you were a Lance Corporal. Like, cause like I was just walking in there like doodly bop dude, like just diddy bopping in, and yeah, dude. So I had to figure out what am I gonna do with my life, you know? And here's the thing about SOF, and you said it, like they take care of you more unlike how the conventional side does, right? Like conventional side, you're getting out, boom, here's the door, kick you, just send you on your way. But and not everyone's like this. I had a very rare, instant like transition time, right, where they allowed me the time to get the medical support I needed, take care of my family, because they knew what was happening with Larissa.
Yeah.
And during that time, they're like, if you want to go to school. So I went and got my master's at USC, and I was doing that, and I felt very selfish, right? Because it was like I spent all those years dedicating my life to the Marine Corps and always volunteering for schools, always trying to put myself, what can I do for the team? And we had that written in our company room. It's like, what have you done for the teams today? Like, cause that's what it's all about. It's like, you need to perform today. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. You need to perform today. So what have you done for the teams today? And now I'm not focused on the teams. I'm focused on myself and on my wife. And it felt weird. I was like,
dude,
it feels wrong. Like I should be doing something for the company. I should be doing something.
Little shitbag.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm like, dude, I feel like a dirtbag. I'm not doing anything for the teams.
Yeah.
And so that, because it gave me such a long period to do that, I'd say I was really only in the Marine Corps for like 14 and a half years, because that last year I was getting paid by the Marine Corps, but it was all about me, right? But because of that year transition, it allowed me to like focus in on what I'm going to do after. Went to business school, went through the Honor Foundation, that Transition Institute for Special Operators, and it helped me like discover my why, which is to illuminate the hearts of others so they may rise above barriers. And that's why we created Thrash-N-Raid, like Larissa and I, because I was like, what am I going to do?
Who named it Thrash-N-Raid?
So it was really funny. We were coming up with ideas, and I was like, I want to do something, and I want to like, get involved in the skateboarding and this, but I don't know what to name it. We were like thinking of names, and I knew like Thrash, because I was like, well, Thrasher, like the skate magazine, and it's, and I was like, but I want to target, the military, like the veteran community, because not a lot of skate companies are doing it. Yeah. But we had so many skateboarders just in my company alone, and and the people that I knew like that liked skating, and I was like, I know that there's a market in the veteran community for skating.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, maybe we'll include Raid in there for like Raiders, right? But it was such a cheesy name, like Thrash-N-Raid. I was like, man, it's such a dumb name. I was like, but it'll be a side project that I could like work on, and then eventually we'll create something else, right? But it took off like immediately, and like people loved it, and they were like, I love your message and I love what you're doing. And at the time, I didn't realize we had a message. I was just like, I just want to make skateboards, and I'm just trying to help people and whatever. But I didn't realize that there was like more meaning behind it as other people did. And so when I talk about how grateful I am to the true believers and the people that like help build Thrash-N-Raid and make it what it is, it's because they did it. Like they, like all the people that supported us and like made it what it is today. I mean, like obviously like I did it, but it was because of them. It was because all these people that believed in it and like drove me to make it better, and I went into it with, and I'll never forget, there's this guy, his name's Joe Sweeney, and he said, if you're going to go into something, go in with a serving attitude, right? If you're going to meet someone, you don't meet someone and say, what can this person do for me, right? Like because when you go to networking events, things like that, you're always thinking like, okay, how can I get something out of somebody, right? And that's like the total opposite of what like helped me. He's like, go into something with what can I do for them? What can I do for people? How can I serve others, right? And so when I started Thrash-N-Raid, I went into it with that mindset. Like, I want to be a company that's constantly seeking to serve other people. And whenever I meet someone, it's like, what can I do for you? And because I went into it with that attitude, I felt like I got so much more in return. And it was almost like, I don't know, it felt crazy doing it, because I'm thinking like, well, some of these companies, these other companies, they're supposed to be my competition.
Yeah.
But I want to treat them as like, how can I help other veterans, like make them better? How can I help, and I want to give a shout out to Cody Alfred from We Defy the Norm. Like when I first started Thrash-N-Raid, he was like, boom, here. He started promoting my stuff and doing whatever. And like, hey, look.
And who's Cody?
So Cody he's a fellow Marine Raider as well. And him and I like never served on a team together or anything like that. Like he was on the West Coast and went to the East Coast. And then we went through M-Height together, which is MARSOC helicopter insertion extraction techniques master or whatever, right? So it's Hurst, like the helicopter rappel, whatever master. So we went through that course together, and that's like really the only like face-to-face interaction I had with Cody. But Cody's always been just like such a real dude and such a awesome guy in the community, like always reaching out to others and want to help people too. Mm-hmm. And so when I started Thrash-N-Raid, he was like, dude, I'll promote your stuff. So he promoted it early on in the beginning. And I remember he messaged me saying like, he didn't say there's plenty of fish in the sea, but he said it in a way to where it's like I got a company, but there's plenty of people out there that.
And what's this company?
We Defy the Norm. Yeah. And so I was like, dude, that's awesome. That's powerful. And so it's like, and when I met you, I remember thinking like, dude, like how can I help OG Pumpkin out? Like, how can I help build your community up, And
dude, that's what I was thinking too.
Dude, and that's what was so rad about it is, and because of that, I felt like we've both grown in so many ways. And I feel like growing together is so much more meaningful for what we could accomplish, rather than trying to like hoard all the information to ourselves and just like, you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that like, yeah, you are like, there are other companies that, you are striving to, you want to be better, right? You want to grow your company, but at the same time, you're not trying to like step on other people in order to make it happen.
Dude, and some people don't get that, man, because I remember when I dropped one of my designs. This is not the shop I'm working with, but the first shop that I work with. I shared another friend's company. They're like, dude, you're dropping your design today. Why are you sharing other people's, like, you're taking money from yourself?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, but he's my friend. And he's like, no, like, he looked at me like I was dumb.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at him like, damn, dude, like, we're not the same and we're not thinking the same. I feel like the market's big enough. I feel like we need to, we as in veterans, we need to help each other. It starts with us, because
Yeah.
if not us, who?
Yeah.
Who is going to help us? Other civilians out there that are helping us, yes. Other businessmen, yes, they're helping us and stuff like that. But it starts from within.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm a big believer that there's plenty for everyone to eat. And I've heard some
Absolutely.
veteran companies be like, discourage others from starting companies, discourage the
Yeah.
people from like, hey, um, it's, what is it, when there's too much of something? Saturated.
Saturates the market.
They're like the market's too saturated. Like, it's not gonna work. But you're doing it though. Why are you telling me it's not gonna work? But you're doing it.
Exactly.
And so this whole community, dude, I think the more perspectives we get, and the more people talk about it, so like not just special operation veterans, but just veterans.
Yeah.
This is what they're getting into. This is what they're coming out to, and there's good things and there's bad things. There's solid communities being built, but you also come out and veterans are fucking over veterans, dude. Like,
real.
what?
Yeah.
You don't got to go into detail, but we haven't even really talked about this. But I'm guessing, just spitballing out there, there's been some veterans who fucked you over or tried to fuck you over.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the first, I don't know, I'll start off with something good real quick, and I'll say what helped me during my transition with developing the right mindset, right? Because there's a lot of people that mentor you as you're getting out, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to get out there, you got to hustle, you got to do this and this, right? Well, one guy that I ran into, never met him a day in my life, and I've told you this story about, this guy named Lawrence who reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he was like, hey, I go to USC, this and this. And I thought he worked for USC because I thought he was like, he was selling it so hard that I was like, is this guy getting kickback for whoever he recruits to come to the program? Is he getting like cash for it? Because he was like really wanting me to go, and I didn't even know this person. But he helped me get into the program, into USC, into that master's program. But then he also helped me like with transition. He was like connecting me to all these different people that would help me and all this, that. And I'm like, dude, what does this guy want from me, right? And so, and it's really sad that I had that mindset. I was thinking like there's a catch here. Like this guy, no one does this for free, right? Like this is what I'm thinking. And then I remember I asked him, I'm like, hey, dude, you helped me so much. Like, what can I do for you? Like, obviously I owe you, right? And he's like, well, what you could do for me is when you have another veteran that needs help, or you see someone that could use some, help. He's like, help them. That's what you could do.
Yeah.
And I was like blown away. I was like, are you serious? Like, this guy doesn't want anything in return other than for me to just pass on. Like, he did a good deed. He wants me to continue that, right? And so I've constantly lived by that, and it was just amazing. And then contrast to like some of the stuff that happened while, and not even that long ago, we had another vet company that had, I had no interaction with them at all, right? Like previously. And all of a sudden I come home from a trip. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling relaxed. I'm like, man, much needed vacation. I've been working hard. I come back and all.
Dude, hold that thought, but don't gloss over the trip, because what did you do in that trip?
Yeah. So, well, during that trip, I took my family on vacation, and, we went and saw family, and we went to
not
Disney
just your
World and all
family.
that. Yeah. Well,
who else did you fly out, cover?
Oh yeah. Well, I flew out my team too. I flew out my skate team, so that way they could come out to the event and all that. And what was really rad is that we had most of our team together, and we photoshopped in. We had that little contest, like photoshopped in some of our team members that couldn't make it out there. But it was really rad because I got to meet in person some of the people that I felt like I've known for years, right? And like who introduced us, right? Or I got to meet like all the guys involved in the Hero Games and Sharp Top CrossFit, and folks in the Gorilla Group, and who else, man? Like some people from Raid SB and from. Fuck,
dude, I'm so glad that you met him, dude. I really, really wanted to be there, man.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you offline, man. But it wasn't on my side. It was on Annalia's side. And again, dude, our wives are so strong.
Yeah.
That something was happening on her side, and I was just like, it was like, dude, I'm gonna be super selfish if I'm like, no, we're extending this. I was like, dude, we gotta go. I almost didn't even want to go to the Hero Games.
Yeah.
I asked her, I was like, do you still want to go?
Yeah.
Because it was really serious.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, so yeah, so you're over there, you meet all these people, it's great event, community building event.
Dude. Yeah, it was, man, it was so awesome just having the families out there, and it was for a good cause, and it was just such a good experience, right? And and any time that we could get the veteran community together, like, and just show people that vets aren't just out here like struggling, right? Like people don't just get out and they have PTS and they're, you know, like there's people out there doing good things and solid things and want to help and make a difference, right? And that's what, you know, the people that we met out there, that they're all trying to do. They're all having that like-minded attitude of wanting to serve others. And so I just get back like hyped up on this stuff, right? And I'm like, when's the next, like, let's plan the next event. Let's make something happen. And then I get this FedEx letter from the company, but it's from their lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck is this? And it's like, you know, we noticed that your logo looks kind of like our logo, and we trademarked ours. And, you know, we'd appreciate it, you know, cease and desist basically. And we're like, and I'm like, who the heck are these people, right? And so I'm like looking them up, and I'm like looking at their logo, and I'm like, dude, it looks nothing like ours, right? And there's like
you drew that logo, didn't you?
Yeah, I do. I drew the logo myself, like hand drew it, and this is like years before I even started Thrash-N-Raid, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dude, what the hell, dude? And so
what is the logo? The basic form of it?
So it's a skull with nods, right?
Yeah. How many fucking companies? You know, like,
dude, right? Like,
how many, what is the word I'm looking for?
Like, modify or
moto,
create.
like you know, like to like team shirts.
Yeah, like team stuff. Like we use a skull with a helmet and nods and all.
Everybody in the fucking military of the history of whatever has used a skull some way or another, and then for our generation, fucking nods were added.
Yeah,
I don't know how many fucking companies have done it, and this isn't even a knock on them, because some of those designs I like, and some of the shirts I bought, but I was just like, but it's how many fucking people do that and use that, and then to say like, no, man, you can't be doing that.
And the dude, and the yeah, exactly, dude. And like I got the Raider emblem tattooed on me, and that was included in the design too. And I'm like, you know, like you don't have that in there, and I'm thinking like if you're gonna reach out to somebody and you think something's messed up with me or whatever, like I would have appreciated if he reached out to me directly, right, and not had a lawyer do it, right? He's a fellow vet, and what really got to me was in the letter. It said, you know, from one vet to another, we'd appreciate if, you know, you would cease and desist, and we're doing you a favor by letting you phase out, and you could sell off your inventory and then stop it completely after that.
Yeah, so, sweet fucking favor, dude.
Yeah.
First of all, man, I don't even know, dude, and I don't know the individual personally. I don't know what kind of views they have. But dude, I've been at this for a long time. I'm a very, very peaceful individual, but since I controlled my own crew in the gang, I've been doing this. So fuck them, all right? Fuck them, dude. And I've only improved skill-wise on everything. So fuck you, all right,
dude. It was such a blow, man. And
basically, if you don't get the message, if you fucking want to bring it based off this, fucking bring it. But it's fucking the principle of the thing. Like, we are veterans, we're supposed to be helping each other. And you say, and you do that, and then you write out some shit like that, dude. Like,
and especially because the you know, they're like, hey, we want to lift up other vets and all stuff. Like, they say that in like a lot of their stuff, and I'm like, how is this helping lift up other vets?
Dude, I went to go check them out. I went to go check them out. I wouldn't even have to go as far as saying their name, too, but I went to go check out their shit, and it's cookie cutter shit. And you got a bunch of models, a bunch of jack dudes that, whether you're trying to make this intentional or not, they look like soft. Chances are high they're not soft. And with, you know, they look fucking jacked, all right? Like, you can fool a lot of people, but jack muscles does not make an operator. But I guess, I mean, Travis Raid fucking fooled a bunch of us. So I mean, if you have the right recipe, and then even Disaster on one of the memes, he's like beard, tats, and guns. Boom, 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 triangle, influencer. So like, I guess, yes, if you fool some people, but But that was some cookie cutter shit, dude. Company, and they got like 100 to almost 160 whatever thousand followers, and it's like, okay, if you're a business and you just want to make money, fine, dude.
Yeah.
But I feel like those type of companies, they won't last. They're gonna phase out, and people are gonna get tired of it, and maybe not everybody, but a lot of those people are gonna get tired of it, and they're gonna go towards companies that have value to them. You can only like some form of cool guy picture and nods for so long until you're looking for something real. And as I'm saying this, some companies might try to copy and paste it, but they'll stop because they'll get bored of it, or they're like, fuck, I can't do this, or they'll realize this takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And what you're doing with your company, it's real, right? People feel it, dude. I went to the skate event, and you gave a bunch of stuff for the kids, and they're happy, and they love your stuff, and you have true supporters. And you may not have the 175,000 like this one company, right? But whether they like to admit it or not, companies like you are a threat to them, because you will have true followers, and they see it. Maybe I might be wrong, but you're taking away from them.
Yeah, it's and that was the part that I was like, I took it personally, and so when I wrote back, I responded by saying, no, I disagree. Like, I disagree that this is what you're thinking, and if you want to talk about it from one vet to another, like, I appreciate if you reach out to me directly.
Yeah.
And I just left it at that. And I think it was like I was calling their bluff or something, because what ended up happening, and I ended up calling you and telling you, like, the dude ended up calling me, and he's like, oh, cool, it's no big deal. Like, yeah, no problem. You could use the logo. It must have been, he tried to pawn it off on one of his other, like, employees or something, saying that they're the ones that did it. But regardless, I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm just going to forget about it, but I'm going to continue to do my mission, and I'm going to continue to focus on what we're trying to do, and we're trying to lift up others. Like, that's what we're truly about, right?
Yeah.
And
dude, and when you called me and you told me that, this whole fucking week, this whole last 2 weeks with Travis Raids, what people don't know is he's a dude who faked to be a Green Beret, made thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
got connected with all these big veteran companies and non-veteran companies, and he made a lot of money. And then you have some dude named Jason Fed who went under Instagram as Intergalactic Operator, and I've gotten a bunch of messages about this dude now and the shit he was doing in the Pacific Northwest. He faked being in the service.
Yeah.
And he gave the image that he was all this and that. Made some money, not as much as Travis Wright, but it's the principle. He made money. And it's one thing if you're just gonna, like, maybe you want to get pussy, and you're like, oh yeah, I was this or that, but like, he was in the community making money and stuff like that. And then you told me this, and I was fucking fired up. I was just like, dude, like, so what a lot of people don't know, man, and I talked to some of them, is I don't think my time of running and gunning is over, legally. Mm-hmm. Or maybe one day I'll fucking join PD and then try to go be SWAT or something. But there's true evil out there, right?
Yeah.
There's fucking child molesters, there's kidnappers, there's thugs, there's all this. So to act like the world is perfect is wrong, right? But I'm a half cup full type of guy. Mm-hmm. I rather be peaceful, but I'm not dumb. Which is why I still shoot, which is why I'm into martial arts. I'm not into martial arts because I want to be fucking Jackie Chan and end up in Hollywood or be a UFC fighter. Yeah. Dude, I literally do martial arts because my fighting, if I do fight, it won't be in the mountains of Afghanistan, right? Mm-hmm. It'll be in the civilian world. So chances are high it'll start off with my hands, and then until I reach my weapon, or like fucking John Wick, use both my weapons and I, to this day, I'll go visit my friends, and then they'll have that I deploy with, and then they'll have friends come over for a barbecue, and they'll be like, yeah, dude, fucking Cav told me about your guys' deployment. I've seen you guys some of your guys' footage and stuff like that. Like, that's fucking crazy. He's like, dude, we talk about it all the time, and I remember being like, dude, I'm very proud of that, right? I'm very proud of that. But another side of me, he's like, I'm thinking you can outdo that performance.
Yeah.
So like I train because if I have to go there, like, and I thought I was going to go there during the riots. I thought I was going to go there during COVID. Like during COVID, first of all, I don't have the money to stockpile on stuff.
Yeah.
But I felt safe. People were asking me like, did you buy a lot of food and stuff like that? I was like, no, I didn't. First of all, I don't have that money.
Yeah, exactly.
And second of all, if it really was that serious, I don't need to stockpile money. I'm just gonna take it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna take it. So I thought I was gonna have to go in that dark space again during COVID when it got pretty weird and we didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
But I felt comfortable, right? So or if something happens, man, dude, I just saw a video. It's not, and I looked it up on the news. Nothing was up on it yet. Somebody tried to. There's a video of two guys trying to kidnap a girl. In Santa Ana, right? You saw it? Yeah. In Santa Ana, dude. And like they're trying to, and then so the girl runs into a car, right? And the guy's trying to drive away, and then like some random guy, and then that truck is trying to run over because they want to get the girl back.
Damn.
So there's true evil. So in my head, I want to fight that, and bad guys train. So like if I have to go kill somebody, dude, I want to fucking crush it. I want my performance for it to be something that people are gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
Right, and it's gonna outdo my last performance.
Yeah.
So when all this happened, and then this fucking vet did this, and their company, dude, I was like, no, man, fuck them. And if they want to fucking step up because of the shit I'm saying, well, let's fucking go, dude.
Yeah.
Because I'm starting to get a very short fuse, because people have, in my opinion, they think they're either fucking really stupid, and this has happened when I was a gang member, dude. When I was a gang member, by the time I got to a position where people would say things and do things, and then when I finally got to them and I was doing what I was doing, in the midst of it, they would always tell me, just because of this or because of that. And then I remember thinking like, man, you guys always say that.
Yeah.
You guys, one example that I can talk about without you going to jail is this one dude disrespected somebody's house, and he thought it'd be funny. So then I got to him and his friends, and I rolled up on him, and I was like, I told all my friends, nobody jump him. I'm gonna fuck this dude up.
Yeah.
And I started fucking him up and just stomping on him, and he tried to block his face, and I didn't mean to, but I broke not the big bone, but the fucking, dude, I went to school for this and I can't even remember, but the smaller bone on your arm. Yeah. Because I just kept fucking stomping him, and I remember him saying it, and he's like, just because, and I'm like, bro, what, you can't just do whatever you want. Yes, you can do whatever it is you want, but you have to understand that there can be, blowback from all the things that you do, right? Yeah. So if you want to act like a jackass. Yeah, but just like how you feel like, oh, I can do whatever I want, dude. Well, I can do whatever I want to you.
Yeah.
So I feel like some of these guys like Travis Raids, Intergalactic Operator, this veteran company, and other fucking companies, like they feel like they can do this and they feel protected. And I mentioned this on Chris on the podcast earlier, yesterday's podcast, that. Dude, I know a bunch of special opportunity dudes who are pissed at fucking Travis for doing that, for acting like a Green Beret. And I remember thinking like, dude, what in your head you're thinking like veterans alone, some of them are not the most balanced ones. Yeah. And you thought that you're gonna get scot-free acting like you're a Green Beret?
Yeah, dude. It's wild. Well, we live in and this is how they got famous. They got famous behind a screen. Yeah. Right. And like that's where the influence grew. Right. And so people feel protected. Right. Even in the car. Right. Like we're driving and you could say whatever you want. You cut people off, do whatever. People feel protected because they're like, well, I'm behind this thing. Right. I'm behind my screen. I can say what I want, do what I want. There's no consequence. Yeah. Right. And so, and then people don't know what to do once they're confronted, like in real life, because they're like, oh crap, like now I gotta, figure out how to respond appropriately. Right. And so, and I think that's what gives people the confidence and the audacity to do these things, because they got like this mental condition. One, it's an identity crisis for one, and people can't seem to shake the need for validation in a way to where it's like you could be content with who you are.
Yeah.
Right. Like everyone has to be like for me, for example, I said it, like I needed to be a special operator. I couldn't leave the Marine Corps and not be that. Right. And am I glad I did it? Absolutely. Did I need to do it? No, not really. But at the same time, it's because I had that identity crisis. And I was telling you before, when I was in MARSOC, like and Larissa makes fun of me for this because I like dove headfirst into the culture. Like I was slicking my hair back, bought a Harley, I bought like the stupid Thor's hammer, like Viking necklace. Dude, I have like no like Scandinavian blood at all, right? But like everyone's like, yeah, we're Vikings, like on our team shirts with like the stupid Viking logos and stuff. And like we thought we were just badass. And I took on this persona that I was this like tough, badass dude, right? And people on Instagram and on other social media, they like that look up to the soft community and they look up to like what a veteran is or what a man is, right? They want to be like viewed as like a murderous, like badass, like tough dude. Like you got the full spectrum, right? Like what Disaster was saying, like the beard, the tats, the whatever. Like besides these tats, like I'm probably the most goofy fucking dude, like, you know, people would ever meet, right? Like,
dude, same. Like I tell Aaliyah, one of the things that the reason why I love her so much is because she's known me from day one and I can be myself.
Yeah.
And I don't have to act cool. And I was like, because she knows I'm not cool. I'm not cool at all. I don't, there is no swag to me. I don't know how to dance.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fucking Rico Swiver her. Like there is nothing about me. I believe I've done cool things, but I'm not a cool guy. That's what, like, I'm not a cool person, dude. Like, I've done some cool things.
Man.
Because you're a goofball, dude.
Yeah,
so
dude,
that's the only reason.
We're like nerds get along with nerds, dude. Like,
but you were saying, you know.
Yeah,
so.
you know, and so I think that, you know, with these companies, they're searching for that validation, right? And you say it too, and you're, you know, in the messages that you put out, like we want people to rise above the barriers they have, and some of those barriers is that identity crisis, right? Like just to be yourself. You're much happier in life when you could just embrace who you truly are and not be afraid to just, you know, wear a shirt other than black with a skull on it, right?
Yeah.
And you could you don't have to be a special operator to be welcomed into this community, right? Like there's tons of people that go to the range events and that come to our skating events and all this stuff that one, like, don't even skate, but just want to be a part of it.
Yep.
And dude, I'm all about it. There was kids riding scooters and things like that. And when I started Thrash-N-Raid, this is where I had a dilemma too with the skate industry, because there's so many diehard skaters that are like, skating shouldn't be in the Olympics. Skating is just about that underground, like rebellious movement, whatever else, which it is. But at the same time, you got to break away from that identity of like, if you don't skate, you die, right? Skate or die, right?
Yeah.
Like, so if you ride a scooter, like you're a piece of crap. If you ride, like when we were in the 90s, like rollerblading, we were like, if you rollerblade, like, you know, we had all those logos and it was like people throwing rollerblades in the trash and stuff. And I remember it was like, yeah, you hated bladers, right? Or BMX and all that stuff. But now it's like, I don't care if that's what makes people happy, you're not hurting anybody by doing that stuff. And I think it's really funny that you just get some people that are just so latched onto like this identity of who they are. Like, I'm soft, or I want to be soft, or I want to be a skater or whatever else. And I have to like hate everything else, or I have to treat other people like crap if they're not this, or I have to look down on them if they're not soft or whatever else. And it's like, it's just not a healthy way to live. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah. So with our message, we're just trying to bring people together and, you know, help people rise above that.
Dude, I'm right with you. I'm right with you, but I know it's based, I just feel like I'm right there with you, man. But a prime example was like, somebody asked me like, for your skate event, like, are you guys gonna hire security? And I was like, no. They're like, what happens if somebody, you know, fucking want to do something bad? I was like, we are the security.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, we want to build community.
Yeah.
We are building a community.
Yeah.
The last skate event, so the first skate event was in my house. 65 people showed up. The last one, you spearheaded. I felt like I was just trying to be useful. You spearheaded everything, dude. And 400 plus people showed up. everybody was happy. We had no problems.
Yeah.
Everybody was having a good time. But me being, you know, who I am, I was like, well, we don't need security. We are security just in case anybody, because evil exists.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Evil exists, and any type of opportunity where they might want to do something bad, maybe just steal your wallet to kidnap you, like the fucking video, dude. Like it's a fucking gnarly video trying to kidnap that woman. It exists, so I like to be prepared for all of it and any of it. So when people within the community step out of the line, they're fucking each other over. I've heard these people like, oh, so and so did this, so and so did that. And I'm like, so what happened? They're like, oh, nothing. And I'm like, damn, dude. So that person thinks I can keep fucking over people. And then sooner or later, not just me, I'm not the only one. They're gonna meet people, and then it's like, damn, dude, like you're gonna find out real hard that you can't do that, man. And we have to protect what we're building, right? Because not just in that way of like, violence. I'm just saying, like, people are gonna try to make money off of it. People are gonna try to get Instagram famous off of it. For example, in one of my events, you were there, and I think I'm not gonna mention who this person was, but this person came to one of the OG Pumpkin events. They didn't talk to anybody. Took a bunch of videos, a bunch of pictures, and once it was over, they loaded up all those, you know, shooting in and out from a car. Didn't thank the company, and I saw them not to make friends with anybody else. And I remember like you just came here to get more likes, get more followers, look cool. You're taking away from this when that could have been someone's spot who like, for example, one of the guys pulled me to the side and he was like, dude, he's like, this event meant a lot to me. And I was like, oh man, I'm glad I did. And he's like, no, you don't understand, man. My dad just died. Or maybe it was his brother. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But his family member had died. And he's like, I was already in a slump, and then that happened, and dude, I was in a dark spot, and I came here, and what you're doing for the community, dude, like, I love it, man. Like, and so when someone tries to attack that, I take it personally. So when somebody tried to attack you, I took it personally. I'm like, dude, Benji is doing so good for people. During COVID, I didn't look it up, the numbers myself, but it makes sense. They were saying that depression and suicide went up. Because the lack of human interaction. I believe people need human interaction. You're not just selling, hey, buy my fucking cool skateboard, buy my cool design. You're hosting events where people get together and they're becoming friends, right? And it's bringing joy to their life, and that's powerful, dude. I felt like I didn't feel like, I know you're starting to get out there. We don't have the same story as in you were a gang member like me, but you're a successful businessman. You were in soft, but you weren't the high school football player. Everything was great. You've always been athletic. You were what, 119 pounds? Dude, so like what you have, people tell me like, dude, like you did this, you did that. You know, it needs to be told. And after meeting you, I was like, God damn, dude, I haven't done shit. Like, I didn't do fucking 15 years. You know, I wasn't fucking, you know, I didn't do 15. I wasn't a fucking gunny. You know, I didn't, my childhood wasn't like this. I didn't have everything. And then, which I think, in my opinion, yours was worse, dude, in some ways, because like, I grew up like that. That was normal to me. You know, the way around, it was fucking other way. It was reverse. You everything was good, and then it wasn't, and then you had to rise off of that, but from that, and I mean that's a story of thousands and thousands of people in the United States.
I appreciate that, Angel, dude. You know, when I met you, man, I was so stoked, dude. And then when Mike, you know, brought me in with Defense Strategies Group 2 and dude, just doing all that stuff with you, like I just felt like, and I was telling Larissa, like it's just such a good feeling just to feel like I'm connected with people that truly care and want to like make a meaningful difference, that want to build this community and make make the world a better place, right? It's not just like people saying they want to do it. It's like people doing it, right? And so, you saying that, Angel, dude, it seriously means a lot, man. And I've like I told you before, dude, like I would die for you, man. Like I told you that on the way, when we were up there in up north, dude. And there's not a lot of people out there that I would say that to, like even people I served with. Right?
Yeah.
And so it does mean a lot. Like this community that we're building and the thing that we're trying to do, or that we are doing, it blows me away. And I know, like every time we talk and we like hear some more good news about something, it's just like it just brings more like we're like, it's happening, dude. Like we're doing it. And what was really cool is like and where I took a lot of I'm very passionate about it. So when people, say something bad about what we're doing, or they criticize it or whatever else, like I do take it personally, but I try not to let it bother me. But there's some things that bother me, and one of them was that guy in particular. But I just feel like I don't get the mindset where people are trying to take advantage of other people. And so that's why I'm very careful now I get hit up all the time by companies, other vet companies and non-vet companies, like, hey, I want to do a collaboration. I want to make a board with you and do whatever. I'm like, nah. Or I say it's like not a good time right now. And it's not that I don't, ever want to do collabs with anyone else again, but like I enjoyed doing the collab with you, and because there was more meaning and purpose behind that collaboration we did, and it was all going toward like the proceeds were going towards those kids, and that to me was, I wanted to make this company more about what can we do for others and not what can I do for myself. And we've had this conversation even right before we started this thing about our wives and just how they're like, are you going to make money from what you're doing? Because it's like, we're just giving it away, right? And like even this morning, and I'm like crunching numbers and I'm getting ready for this next event. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, but it's going to happen. And then I'm on the phone and then I'm getting a call from someone. He's like, hey, I'm going to cover this event, or I'm going to cover this thing that you're doing. And I have the faith that like, if we say we're going to do something, it's going to happen. Like we're going to make it happen. And I know that, with the attitude that you have, like you're going to continue to grow, because people are true believers. They see that and they want it to succeed. Right. And like these other companies that are all about just like throwing out these tough guy shirts and trying to portray this image, like that's going to die. That's going to fade away, but the people are going to remember like the impacts and the stuff that these events and these things that we're doing, how it affected them. And after that Shred the Trend event, dude, you remember that day, like I was in a low place because it was like I'd just gotten word that morning about a friend killing himself, and we were doing this event to raise awareness on that very thing, right? On veteran and service member suicides. And you talked about like protection at the event and all that stuff, and I was strapped that day. And I remember I wouldn't kill myself, over something like that, but I put my gun away and I put it in my car because I just didn't want it around me. It was like the thought of having that gun on me, like kind of like it made me sick to my stomach, because I was thinking about my friend and him pulling the trigger on his head. And I was just like, it was making me sick. And the more I thought about it, and it was a reminder, like feeling it, the gun pressed up against me was making me think about it. So I was like, I need to get rid of it. So I put it in my car, and I remember I come back and I was just...
Dude, I had mine in my car too.
Dude, right? Yeah, and so I was just like... I was just, trying to take my mind off it, have a good time at the event. And I was so stressed out that whole event, because I was hoping everyone was having a good time and they were happy and everyone was telling me how they were. But it wasn't until after the event that I knew that we had done something special and that we had made an impact. All these messages started flooding in of people saying, this is what it did for me. And just like that guy talking about, I was in a low place, this event brought me back, right? Like I was getting those messages. And for all those that are listening, like I get these messages every single day of people that reach out and say, what you're doing, it has impacted my life in this way. And just like how when I first started the company, I was like, they believed in this message that I didn't even know was impactful. That's what kept me going, was all these people saying like, I believe in it. This is how it's helping me. You're inspiring me. You're doing this and this. And it was blowing me away, but that's what's fueling that fire to keep me going. And that's why I'll spend hours on the phone with a stranger. There's people that reach out and they're like, I'm thinking about committing suicide, or I'm at that point where in my life I'm so low in my life that I don't know what else is there, and they just leave it at that, right? And I'm like, and at first I was like, why are these people reaching out to me about this? Like, I'm not a psychologist. I don't like,
not a fucking professional.
I'm not a professional, right? But like I've spent hours like outside the skate park, like on the phone where I went to go skate, and I didn't even get to skate because I'm on the phone with these people, like, basically talking them off the ledge and trying to help them. And that's why I was so passionate about getting involved in 6 Feet Above and making that project what it is, because we want to be the ones that are going to be able to tell veterans and tell it to them straight, not just some like old dude that's just going to feed you pills and that hasn't been through anything that you've been through. And it's just going to be like, well, you're a psychopath, so here's take some Sutralene and some, Buspirone to counter that, and some Trazodone to help you fall asleep, and this and this. And when I was getting out, and they were giving me this whole cocktail of shit to help me deal with my stress and anxiety and all this other crap I was dealing with, I remember thinking, I was like, this is making me worse.
Yeah.
Vets need something that's going to help them, lift them up and make them better, and not like keep them in this like dull, like numb their pain. They need to like overcome that and rise above that. And so these community events, like the things that you're doing and like the stuff that we've collabed on, like that's what's truly making a difference.
Yes.
And I'm just so fired up right now to like we got so many things happening in the future, like in the next couple months.
Dude, you remember, so we were for Defense Strategies, and for the listeners who don't know, Defense Strategies is a civilian readiness company. We teach people how to shoot, anywhere from beginners to federal agents, now sheriffs, and soon, I'm sure soon now we're going to be the contractors at when you'd be at a school or whatever, and you see a civilian and you're like, dude, how'd you get this job? And like, so-and-so, and you're like, this dude's probably making a lot of money teaching the military. And they're like, oh yeah, I used to be in.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much about it, but Mike is, I'm super excited.
Yeah. That's super rad.
So Mike is Michael Dowd. He's our boss. He fucking hates it when I call him the boss, but he's my boss. He's a friend, mentor, and we're made up of Rangers, Green Berets, MARSOC, and Navy SEALs, and we do training, personal training, and public classes, and at one of our private areas that we were at, just happened to have a large amount of property.
Yeah.
And it was I believe the first time you'd worked there, and I told you, dude, I feel like we're like the second wave.
Yeah.
Where we are the second wave of and I'm saying this and I didn't believe it at first, and I was like, no, maybe you kind of getting ahead of yourself, or maybe not yet, dude. But we are literally in my opinion, the second wave of veterans who are going to show the third, fourth, fifth, and keep it going as it should be, that you can go out and you can be successful in whatever it is you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And the first wave, I consider, they didn't start at the same time, but I consider Matt Best, JT, Andy Stumps, Mike Ritlin, all the Fieldcraft guys, because they're and Tim Kennedy, because they're literally, it doesn't look like work, right?
Yeah.
But they're working so hard and they're doing what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I saw Matt Best and all of them, Rocco and JT, they were making these funny videos, and then they started a company, and you saw their company everywhere. I remember thinking, like, dude, that's a one in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
That's not for me. I won't be able to do that. Like what I'm passionate about, I won't be able to make money, sustain, and grow, and not have to have like a 9-to-5 that you fucking hate.
Yeah.
And then I saw David Goggins do it, and then Andy Stumps, and then Jocko, and then I'm like, oh shit, like all these people are doing it. And then we started with our very small companies, and they're growing. But before, when I told you that, dude, we can do it.
Oh yeah.
I told you we can do it. This is before the Shred the Trend event.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, dude, so 65 people showed up to the first event, which was at my house. And I'm like, well, for sure we can get 65, maybe 100.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get 100 people. Dude, we got over 400 people.
Yeah.
People were talking about it. They're asking, when is the next one? We had big companies there, and and
CJ Ramon.
Yeah, dude. People are like, I go to my gym, and Tyler Wombles, who's the head coach at Classic Fight Team, who right now he's actually at cornering TJ Dillashaw his last fight.
Yeah.
First thing I do, he tells me when I walk in, he's like, in class is going, he's being very professional. Hey guys, and then he stops and he goes, "How the fuck did you get CJ Ramon to play at your show? I mean, at your event?" And I'm like, dude, I was like, Benji's the man. You got to meet Benji. Benji is the man. Okay. And he's like, dude, he's like, you're like next level. It was like, he's like, it was huge from the pictures that I've seen. And then him, when he went to help, he went to go help. He's like, dude, you guys are crazy. You guys are doing it. I remember bro, after that, and before I forget, dude, during it, you're during any event, you're having mini conversations that are genuine, and you want to get to talk to everybody and the workup before, and then clean up after. It's a lot of energy. Dude, it's a lot of energy on not just us, but on our family members, right? Again, our wives. And then afterwards, and sometimes you're like, fuck, dude, like, it's a lot. But then you see all these messages and stuff like that. You're like, dude, so fucking worth it. And then you're like, dude, when's the fucking next one?
Dude.
And it resonates with people so much. And I kind of like how when I first started telling my story, I was like, I was really hesitant. I was nervous. I was like, but then now I'm very comfortable because it's helping people. When people were telling me like, dude, you guys got something going on. You know what really helped me? When it was Mike. Mike was like, dude, you have 100 people with an OG pumpkin design tattooed on them. I was like, actually, it's 107 right now.
Dude, that's sick.
Dude, and he was telling me the story, and he was having dinner with this big company and their advertisement team, and he's and not with their advertisement team, but they were talking about their advertisement team. And Mike had told me, he's like, I was kind of like joking but not joking. I was like, you need to fire all of them. He's like, how much are you paying all these people? And he's like, yeah, fire them. And you need to pay Angel. He's like his company is this big, and he has 107 people with their design tattooed on them. You don't even have one. And he's like, and you're trying to get like a solid group following. He's like, you got to talk to him. And the recipe is very simple, but it takes time and energy. You really have to care. You can't fake the funk, because you can fake on social media, you can fake yourself a lot, but in person, when you talk to people, immediately they'll be like, some people to me, they'll be like, dude, like, oh shit, like you're exactly how you are like online. I'm like, what did you expect for me to be in person? Did you get stuff like that?
Dude, like I feel like people, and this is the sad thing, is like people put you on a like, oh, he's soft, right? And like and I think we talked about this before. People were like, you talk to them and you're like, oh yeah, I was Marsoc, this, and they're like, well, I was just and they use that word just, right? And I'm like, why don't you just say, hey, I'm so and so, and I'm, whatever, right? Like you don't have to say I'm just a whatever, because they bring themselves down and they're putting us like up here, right? And so, when I'm very real with people and I take the time, like if people want a deck and they're in the local area, like I'll deliver it myself, right? And I just come out there and deliver it, and they're like, wow, I can't believe you came out and delivered it. I'm like, I'm not some like CEO that's sitting in a mansion, like just, in a swimming pool of like coins, like a Scrooge, or whatever, right? Like I'm not that guy, right? And so it's very surprising to some people to see, like, put myself out there and do that. And even the stuff that we're doing with the team, and I get so much help from people on the team, like, especially like with Logan, and like when I was on the East Coast, he was coming to my house and he was like, shipping boxes and, stuff like that to put things out. And it's like, it's really cool just seeing all the hard work pay off, and people see it and they recognize it, right? And they're like kind of blown away that they're like, wait, are you doing this all by yourself? Or are you like sometimes people are reaching out to me and they're like, hey, what's your number to your customer service? Because I have an issue with this order. And I'm like, oh, I'll handle it. They're like, no, I don't want you to handle. I'll handle with your customer service. I'm like, yo, dude, I am the customer service, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't know who you think I am, but like, it's like not many of us that are like, trying to run this thing, right? And so it's just really funny, just from an outside perspective. And dude, I hit my year mark for Thrash-N-Raid today.
Dude,
today's our year mark.
Congratulations, man.
And where we've come in a year is where I thought we'd be 5 years from now, you
Yeah.
know? And it's because of like the support we've received. And I'm more blown away from people than they are of like what we're doing. Like I'm just genuinely, you know, just in awe, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And dude, I'm just so grateful, man. Like, I don't know.
1 year.
1 year, dude.
One
1
year.
year today. 1 year ago, I was writing a Thrash-N-Raid design in a composition notebook.
Dude,
Like
well, I'm glad you got to be here for dude. We're gonna celebrate. I'm gonna take you out for a steak,
dude.
Fine steak. Dude,
We just got to talk about our wives, how they hate. Dude, like, you know, like we're like, man, like, you know, babe, you're giving away too much stuff. You're doing all this, and we're like, steaks tonight on me, like.
Dude, so before we started the podcast, I was telling you how like I know he was like OG Pumpkin is a fucking nonprofit at this point. Well, she didn't say fucking. I say fucking. I cuss a lot. I try not to. She'll be like, it's basically a nonprofit. Like, and then I don't talk numbers to her.
Yeah.
She's like, because you're sponsoring this fighter, that fighter. You did this, you did that. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
And like, I know the money that's going into our account. It's all DSG checks.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm using all the money.
Yeah.
She's like, you are a business, so like, and I was like, you gotta trust me. Do you trust me? She's like, yes. And they trust us so much.
Yeah.
And they're such strong women, and I feel like their story isn't told enough, dude. You know who my next guest is? Analia.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's gonna be. I'm not gonna want to hear a lot of things. I'm gonna feel bad, but I told her, I was like, you're the next guest.
Dude, I'm so stoked that you're doing that, dude.
Because the wives, because a bunch of people asked me, for some of the listeners who may have not listened to the first podcast, I didn't start this podcast because the first episode, of this podcast, I didn't start this podcast because I want to do a podcast. It was out of necessity. I started OG Pumpkin because I was going to have my third kid, and my wife's like, hey, we can't be buying the UFC fights because that's one of my first events, and I still do this to this day.
Yeah.
We can't keep buying the UFC fights, pay-per-views, and you ordering this food. We're going negative into our account, and we're barely covering it. We can't be doing this. We have a third kid coming. And I was like, she's right. But it had been 3.5 years of me DMing back high school kids and college kids how to enter into special operations. At this point, it's 24 that I know of.
Yeah.
And they send me a picture of their beret. Most of them are Rangers. So when I started OG Pumpkin, I already had a following.
Yeah.
And it started going. And then now, and making profit, even though it might have been like $100 the first month, but it's been growing profit since the first month. And then now I did the podcast because I still do this DM thing, and sometimes I'm like, dude, you and I are gonna go back and forth in the DMs. I'm trying to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
Here's my number. Yeah. And I'll be like, hey man, and they're like, oh shit, like this is really you, like dude, yeah, it's me, dude.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I'll be like, yo, pay attention. Do you have anything to write? And then I'll fucking tell them everything they need to that I know. Yeah. And hopefully it helps them. And one of the, and to go back why I started the podcast was so I didn't lessen the DMs and lessen the conversation. I can just tell people like, hey man, listen to episode so and so. We go into great detail. Yeah. And I'm gonna now I'm gonna use this episode for multiple reasons. But now on one of a lot, I get dozens of messages like, dude, like how do you balance family life? Yeah. How do you? I'm just 1 year in. Or I'm about to sign, or I signed. How is it on the wives? How is it on the marriages? And dude, the wives support us. Are there the horror stories? Yes, of wives cheating. Yes, that's very true. I remember in Iraq, I was telling one of the guys like, "Hey man, you want to go get some chow?" And you like fucking brush me off. Yeah. And, like basically like get out of here. And I'm like, dude, what? I remember I went to go eat, and I was like, it was in my head. And I was overthinking things like I usually do, and I'm like, dude, why is he upset with me? Like, what did I do to him? Yeah. And then they're like, oh, dude, you didn't hear? And I was like, what? They're like, his wife got caught cheating. Turns out 5 of the wives were in on it together, and some of them were taking care of each other's kids while the other one was cheating.
Man.
So
Yeah.
so that's real.
Yeah.
But besides that, so besides that, you have the wives that stick to it, and it's hard on them. And just like how you said, dude, she was super supportive, and you would just tell her this and this and that. Dude, I volunteered for a bunch of schools that I didn't have to go. I say that I miss the birth of my son and my daughter, but which is true. But dude, in reality, they gave me the option.
Yeah.
To not go on the deployment, and I was like, no, I'm going with the boys.
Yeah.
Should be okay. So and so, I've known my wife since I was 7. She's seen me, as a kid. She's seen me as a gang member. She's seen me as in the regular army and special operations, before and after combat.
Yeah.
And then my transition, and I think what happened on their side is very important.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll help wives that, and then more importantly, their husband. Not more importantly, but it's like a under thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to get. It's for the wives, but it's also mostly for the guys. I'm hoping they hear this and they're like, "Oh shit, dude."
It's a realization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to talk to her and I'm going to ask her hard questions. And the version of who I am now is not what she always got.
Yeah.
So it's good. That's why I said I'm going to hear things I'm going to feel bad about.
Absolutely. And the thing that really sucks, because we could talk about it all day, and we have been talking about it a little bit here and there in this podcast, but like with our wives, like, yeah, they're going to say some stuff like, and if Larissa was sitting in this chair, she would have told that story in probably a lot more detail. Yeah. Right. And and that's something we've had, like Larissa and I have had that conversation of how, people hear my story and they're like, they're inspired by it, and they're like, wow. And they, and sometimes they're like, they feel bad, right? They're like, wow, I can't believe you went through that and this, and how can I support, and I'm glad what you're doing, this and this. But it's never like your wife, like, I can't believe, she went through all this, and all those accomplishments and those things that you did were at the expense of my wife and my 4 kids, you know? And one of this video, I hate watching it. Every once in a while I'll see it. And it's this video of me coming home from my last deployment, and it was when I came midway, right? It's a video of me coming home midway in that deployment, and I come through the door, I surprised my kids, right? And so Larissa's like, oh, someone's at the door, and my oldest, who's 12, opens the door and sees me and just like busts into tears. Yeah. And, I'm hugging her, my other kids run up and they're crying, and I just remember thinking like, dude, I was not there for, especially my oldest, her entire life. Yeah. It's gone while she was born, the ITC right after, the deployment after that, then ITC, and then 3 more deployments on top of that, plus all the schools and everything else in between. Like, dude, like, I was not there for her. And sometimes, like, I get so emotional just looking at her. I look at my daughter and I'm like, wow, in a few years, you could be out of the house. You could be moved out. And where have I been this entire time? Not at home, not watching you grow, not mentoring you and all this. And I remember Larissa brought that up, one time when, I was going out and I was supporting the Boys to Men mentorship group, right? And I'm like, I want to help, and I want to help, these young boys that are at-risk youth in the same situation I was in. I want to lift them up. And she's like, well, when are you going to do that for your own family? And it was like, I was like, shit, but it was like and it was exactly the words I needed to hear, and so, man, I'm just so grateful for her, and she's constantly like steering me, in the right direction. So if there's anyone to thank to why Thrash-N-Raid is so successful, it's because she's behind the scenes doing so much stuff. And even though my face is out there and I'm like, hey, being a goofball on camera, like she's behind the scenes supporting me, helping guide me, and helping, make this a success. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, even the designs, like a lot of the designs she hand drew and did it on Photoshop and all that stuff and made it what it is, and so she doesn't get enough credit for that as well. So if anybody should be sitting in this chair, I should probably leave and let her come in.
Dude, see here, like, see, like, there you go, dude. Like, I mean, I know we've talked about it, but then even saying more, hearing about more, dude. Like, if I needed to hear that, and maybe some guys will still hear this, and they'll be like, and then, or hopefully, even if it's just one that hears it, and it's like, after listening to it, is like, talking to his wife, maybe on the drive to fucking Costco to resupply for food or whatever. Like, hey, how do you feel about this? And then hopefully that's what it is. Hopefully they don't have to, because I always tell the dudes when I give them advice, my mistakes that I made in the military as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully, my mistakes of being a military father, they learn from that, and they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So they're better than us. I always give the share stuff not with the intent of like, yeah, dude, be like me.
Mm-hmm.
No, be better than me.
Yeah.
Be where I'm at. I'm 31 now, dude. I want you to be there when you're fucking 22 or 23. Like, be ahead of the game. I want to look up to you, man. Like, so that's why I'm doing it, man. And and I told her, and she's like, I don't want to do that. I'm nervous. I don't know what to say. And then I told her why. And dude, the look on her face, just like, I can tell she's thinking about everything. And I was just like,
what have I got myself into?
You know what I told her? I was like, save it.
Yeah.
I was like, save it for the podcast. I was like, dude, so hopefully dudes, I'll tell dudes like, yo, man, you want to know one side of what it's like on the family?
Yeah.
And then not to discourage, like, yo, don't do it, because I asked you, did you think going into special operations would help you in the long run? And you said yes. Dude, that's how it was for me. I remember having my son who was just born, my pregnant wife, her they gave me time to handle some stuff, my packet for RAS. I remember her being in the parking lot. It was fucking hot, and she was in the car, and I come back, and I was kind of upset that they were prolonging my fucking packet.
Yeah.
And I remember just telling her, like, it's gonna help us.
Yeah.
And I remember half believing it. Like, I don't know 100% if it was going to help our family or not.
Yeah.
But another piece of me was like, it is. It's gonna help our family. And a big portion of who I am, I don't think it would have happened if I didn't go into special operations, because passing the selection made me believe in myself.
Yeah.
Because before that, I had done some stuff, but I did like a best cyber competition, a local best cyber competition, and we were supposed to be teams, but my partner got hurt. Yeah. They're like, oh, you can finish the first day, and it just happened that the last thing was how many obstacles are on an obstacle course, like 18 or 12 or whatever. Yeah. It's double digits.
Yeah.
I remember I was just and I'm a small guy, right? Yeah. And I remember they're like, oh, team up with the other teams. And my platoon sergeant at the time was like, he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, I don't want you to hold back. And because the star pupil, they're like, I don't want you to hold back so and so. And I remember like, just like, to my own platoon sergeant's like, don't tag along with these guys because you're gonna slow them down.
Yeah.
Damn. And at the time, I had also voiced that I would go into special operations. And I remember my squad leader and my team leader laughed in my face.
Yeah.
Along with the star pupil, who they told me you're gonna slow him down.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, "Fuck, dude." I remember feeling bad. I remember being like, "Well, they're kind of right, because I don't have anything to under my belt that, like, dude, I can do this, I can do that." I not done much physically, mentally.
Yeah.
Challenging things. So when I did that best opera competition, and by the time I finished, it was 30 minutes later, then the next team finished.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking, like, dude, if I can do that, and I saw some of those dudes with tabs, and I was like, dude, if I can fucking do that,
yeah, dude.
And then my deployment, and then running and gunning with their group, and I may have not gone with their schools, but shot for shot and step by step in the mountains of Afghanistan, I was right there with them.
Yeah.
And when the team sergeant would be like, Cortes is with me, I would be like, dude, even he fucking wants me to go with him on part of his element when we're out. Like, he believes in me. I was like, dude, like, maybe I can do more.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm in the parking lot, and I'm telling my wife, like, this is gonna benefit us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm about and because I remember why I was also upset because she said, "What are the dates?" And it was when the baby was born.
Yeah,
and she's
dude.
like, "You said you weren't gonna miss it,"
Yeah.
and because I had missed the birth of my son, I was like, "I know," but I was super upset and I started yelling. I was like, "It's gonna fucking help us." I didn't know, but it did because accomplishing that made me believe in myself even more. And then when it was time to get out, I was a horrible fucking student in high school. I went to continuation as well. I barely fucking graduated. But then going into regiment and believing in myself that I can do more. So when it was time to go to school, dude, I remember thinking like, fuck, dude, you did terrible at school. But I was like, but I've done all this.
Yeah.
And if I can apply myself like this at school, I can make it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I would have done that if I would have not gone into special operations and then got out. Maybe I would have done like so many stories that I've heard that they try school and because it's challenging, and it's not physically but mentally a lot, because the books don't give a fuck how fast or strong you are.
Oh yeah.
No, you have to sit down and learn that shit. I've seen so many they happen to be regular Army guys, regular unit dudes who go for school for a while and they're like, fuck this, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And they want to say some BS like, oh, the students are stupid and the teachers are stupid, but I'm like, dude, look, because I know better, I see the frustration that you're having in the books, and I've seen some soft dudes do it too, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it helped me. Dude, I don't even know how I got on this fucking rant.
Well, I mean, we were talking, how soft benefited the families.
Yeah. So the dudes who I'm not to discourage you, like, yo, don't, if you have a family, don't go. I tell them, it'll help your family in the long run.
Yeah.
But now everything that I just said, instead of just giving them that sentence, because I feel bad, because sometimes I wake up and it's like fucking 30 DMs and I'm just like, okay. Yeah. And I don't want to shortchange some people. So now I'll be like, look, dude, like, listen to this podcast on families and you make your decision. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to say some people, like, I've heard some people say, like, no, dude, you're married. Dude, you don't want to fucking go. You're married. Your marriage is going to fucking be destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, and I throw this out there too, and is because I throw this out there saying you need to think about a couple things. Why do you want to do this? Are you doing this because you need to have the title and that title is more important than, this? Or are you going in with the mindset of this is going to make me a better person, which is going to make me a better person to help others as well, right? Yep. And so it's like, what's the reason, what's the root cause reason behind why you're doing what you're doing? And so I really try to dig in on that, because in my mind, and this is just mature thinking, right? And this is something that developed over time because, as I said before, when I was a new soft guy, I wanted that cool status. I wanted people to see me as like a special operator, right? Now I don't even bring it up half the time. I'm just like, I even took when I first started Thrash-N-Raid, I was like, oh, a special ops, I noticed it. Company, right? But now I'm like, we're a California skate company now, right? And it's because I'm like, I'm trying to break away from the identities and just be a good dude, right? And because I felt like, well, if people do people like me because I was a raider, or do they like me because of the stuff I'm doing? So and now I've realized like, oh, people like me because of the stuff I'm doing, because there's so many people out there that had no idea I was a MARSOC raider, and I'm like, mission accomplished, right? And so when I talk to people about, if they want to go that route or whatever, the mature mindset in me is saying, well, if I'm on my deathbed and I look back on my life, what am I going to wish? Am I going to wish I would have done this and climbed, Everest and all this other crap? Or am I going to wish I spent more time with the people that I loved and that loved me, and I built these relationships and I made a meaningful impact in someone's life, right? Mm-hmm. And if going soft accomplishes that, like it allows you to make a meaningful difference, then awesome, do it. But in my mind, there's so many things that, like when I look at my daughter now, like what I said, I can't get those years back, And so part of me regrets not being there, But the good thing is, it's like, just like before when I was victimizing myself and I said, oh, here's my circumstances. These are all things that happened to me. My future, these are the cards I was dealt, right? It's like, no, I could change who I am and I could change that stuff.
Yeah.
And I said this in a post before when my son, and I told you about this, when my son was like, I wish I had a new dad. My son said that, and I took him on like a, father-son little thing, and, we went to a wishing well, and I just bought him ice cream, and I'm thinking, here, I'm back. I'm going to get out of the Marine Corps, and I'm about to get in his life now, finally. He takes that penny, he throws it, and he's like, I wish I had a new dad, right? And I remember being so pissed. I'm like, dude, what little punk? Like, I just took you to get ice cream. I did all this stuff for you. I'm here. I'm trying to bond with you. And then I realized, I'm like, he's right. Like, he does need a new dad, because I wasn't there for him. When I talk to my kids, I don't know how to be a dad. I was like being like a Marine Corps drill instructor, like constantly yelling, like any little thing like they would do, like just being kids, like laughing and having a good time. And I'm like, shut up, and then they start picking up on my habits, and they're yelling at each other. And so they're yelling, and I'm like, stop yelling. And I'm yelling, and it's just like, well, where are they learning that from? They're learning it from me, right? And so I realized this, and I was like, you know what? He's right. He does need a new dad. But the good news is, I could be that dad. Yes. Right? And so when I see my daughter now, I'm like, you know what? Those years are gone, but I can make up for it now. And what was really cool, and what I talked about earlier with reconnecting with my dad, he was like, you know what? The past is the past. Like, I'm not going to say like it wasn't messed up. And he admitted, like, dude, all the things that I did in your life, completely messed up. But I also learned some things talking to him of like why that happened. And I feel more empathetic now. But at the same time, he's like, you know what? Screwed up. Let's make it right. And that was just like super powerful. So that's what, I tell people, like, if you're going to change some lives and make a difference, like, do it, but it needs to be for the right reasons.
Dude, I'm so glad that happened with you, with your dad, because that happened with me and my dad. Yeah. And it happened, you did it because it happened, it kind of like started happening because, egg, with an egg production, right? And for me, it's because when I went on Andy Stump's podcast. Yeah. And then Paul Gomez, who was at Hurley for a long time, and then Nike reached out, and he said, I want to mentor you. I heard your story, and he's one of my friends, and I want to help you. And I remember I read that message, and we linked up, and he bought me lunch, and we talked for like 3 hours. Yeah. And he's been mentoring me and introducing me to a lot of people. But one of the things that he said, he's like, I noticed, that you talked about you waiting for your dad or something like that to bring up that conversation, right? Because him and I had the dude would beat me, he would just beat us like real bad. Like, I have, when you bend a boombox cord, there's the loop, dude. To this day, I got loop marks on me, because of the beatings that we would get, and so all this stuff, right? So he said, he's like, why are you waiting for him? Yeah. Well, how come you don't make the first move? And I remember when he said that, I had after talking with Andy, I remember thinking like, I'm gonna do it. But it had been 3 weeks, 4 weeks since the podcast was released, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. But then when I talked to Paul, I was like, you got to do it, because I was like, clearly I'm in a new stage in my life, and I want this to be hashed out. And I felt awkward. It felt weird. I was nervous. Yeah. But I told him, what are you doing today? He's like, nothing. I was like, come to my house. Yeah. And I told that to my mom too. And then it was kind of perfect that she was like 1 hour separated from her timeline. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. I'll talk to my dad, then I'll talk to you. Yeah. And I was fucking nervous. I even went to go grab a beer. And we're talking about how the podcast went and all the good stuff, because I gotta give it up to it started with Phil Kraft and Mike Lover and Kevin Owens, and then Andy. Like, dude, like, they have helped me so fucking much, because they put the story out there and they helped me make the company a lot bigger, right? And it helped my movement and introduced me to people like Paul Gomez, and then he introduced me to Bobby Tribal, and but yeah, so I was like, I'm clearly in a new stage. I'm talking to him about this, and I tell him, you know, a lot of stuff happened, you know, when we were small and stuff like that, and we kind of never really talked about it, and no one has ever talked about it. And there's this thing, I've heard it and I've seen it, that it's big in the Hispanic community on how if things happen in the family, they say they either don't want to talk about it, or they act like it never happened, and they're like, oh, it's because it's your family, it's because that's your dad. Oh, forget about it or forgive them. It's your uncle.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it doesn't matter who it is. Whoever does this thing is wrong. Like, if somebody were to do that who's not family, how would you feel about it? Oh, I'd feel bad. I'd need so and so and so and so. And then I'm like, so then why are you acting like it's okay just because so and so did it? So I told my dad, I was like, and we were like, kind of not talk about it.
Yeah.
Nobody would talk about it. Like, dude, you and my mom abused the shit out of us.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, we kind of not talk about it, but I forgive you for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I told him I'm in a new place in my life, a new chapter, stage, whatever you want to call it, and I just don't. This is something I want to do for a while now, and I forgive you. And then I went into it thinking my dad's gonna be like, you know, like in Spanish, like fuck you. I don't need this shit, and I don't need your fucking forgiveness or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you, dude, he told, you know. He told me more about it, and then I was more empathetic about the whole thing, and he said things like, you know, man, not man, but he's like this is stuff that I'm gonna have to live with. He's like, and I've been living with, and you guys didn't deserve it, you know, but you know, nobody taught me any better, and this and that, and I remember just being like, fuck, dude, like, it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot. I felt like 100 pounds was lifted off my shoulders. So I can only imagine what it's done for you, man. So I'm really happy for you.
Dude. Yeah, it did. I mean, it was the first time in forever. It was the first time in forever of actually seeing my dad emotional like that.
Yeah.
And actually having a real conversation, right? Because after I joined the military and, you know, we saw each other once every couple of years, and it'd maybe be like a Christmas where, you know, like, okay, here's the check in the box. We got to go visit Grandpa Ben, and my kids don't even know who the hell he is. They're like, "Who's Grandpa Ben again?" And you know, and we'd go up there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Grandpa Ben. I know who he is." And you know, and so, and that was the sad thing. It was like, dude, my kids don't even know you. Like, it's not like, you know, their birthdays come around, like you're not like the grandpa, like, you know, how I imagine being a grandpa, you know, skating up to the door like, you know, just being a complete weirdo, right?
Yeah.
And you know, so he's not there, and so it was almost just that check in the box where it's like, you know, Christmas, hey dad, what's up? Merry Christmas. All right, see you later. Boom.
Yep.
And so, you know, once I got out of the Marine Corps, I was like, okay, I'm going to start trying to have that conversation with my dad, but I didn't know how to do it. So it was like, and you could tell like he wasn't sure how to talk with me either. We were like on business terms. So he's like, how's real estate? You know, and you're like, if the market's good, you know? And so it was like just very weird. And every time I'd hang up, I remember I'd call my wife after, and I'd be driving home, or we'd have lunch together. I'd have lunch with my brother and my dad. And I'm like, I think it went well. Like, we talked about something else other than like work stuff, you know? And I was like, I think it's going somewhere. But after we had called him out on the bull crap, right? And then I had put myself out there as well, saying like, I wasn't a good dad to my kids, you know? And I'm saying like, I know exactly, not exactly the same extent, right? 2 different reasons, but I was telling him, I was like, you're not the only one that wasn't there physically, right? Like, I wasn't there for my kids either. I was only there financially. And, you know, I have all those regrets that you might have as well. And it was like the first time where we could just have a real talk and just cry it out and just be like, you know, and it's exactly what we needed. And then it was like the next time we talked, when, you know, I was on vacation, and he was up at one of his houses, and he's like, hey, I'm in Oxnard, I'm doing this. But it was like more like he could be real, and he's just like telling me about his problems and what he's dealing with that day and this and that. And it's like, I've never heard my dad say that. And so it was such like a good feeling, because in my mind I'm thinking, and it's really sad. I was like, I would have these daydreams where I was imagining like, if I don't have this conversation with my dad now or with my mom or whatever, it's going to be at their funeral, and I'm going to be up there stumbling to get the words out saying like, I wish I would have, whatever. Right. And so if there's anything for the listeners, like if there's anybody that you need to reconcile with, whether it's your wife or your dad or with whoever, like more time like tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Like we're a vapor on this earth. We're here today, gone tomorrow. Like we could make all these plans, like all these plans that I have right now, like with you and I and the stuff that we plan on doing, all these events, like I know it could happen, and I know it will happen as long as we're here.
Yeah.
But me driving home, I could just get smoked on the 5 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like we make these plans as if they're going to happen when we really don't know. So you might as well like reconcile and make things right when you can.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And go into it, because unfortunately it may not be like how it was with Benji and I. Go into it doing it for yourself, because it, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if, maybe your dad or mom, whoever it is, might, say, well, fuck you, I don't need your forgiveness or whatever. Just go into it, that it's for you.
Yeah. And
whatever they say, that's how they are. But the fact that you tried, made the commitment, I think it's a big thing. Dude, but it's like all that stuff is the reason why, even though I was gone for a long time, this and this and this and that, but this is why I'm such a good dad, because I remember being like, dude, I don't want to fucking, if I do the opposite of what my dad did, I would be an okay dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but there's always room for improvement.
For sure.
And this is why I love Defense Strategies Group. And the I really feel like us together, we can do whatever we want, because we're not happy with our past accomplishments. Is it part of us? Yes. Do we mention it? Yes, but it's not everything. We don't try to ride into fucking success just based off something we did a long time ago that we may not even be able to do now. No, it's like, dude, I like that you stay physically fit, that you're always constantly trying to be a better friend, dad, husband, businessman, and you have heart, and clearly you want to help people. You are helping people, and some people might look at us and be like, dude, you guys are terrible businessmen. And that might be true, dude, because we give away too much. But we make enough profit to make these events. We keep networking with the right people. Our company keeps getting bigger. So we're doing, like, in some eyes, the worst fucking thing you guys can do, but it's just helping us. And I'm not sure if it's dumb luck, God, the universe, or a combination of all of it, man. But I'm glad I met you. And I see nothing but great things happening for you. You have a beautiful family, a strong wife. Your kids, dude, your kids are amazing. They're kids.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure they have moments just like it. But you got a good family, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So I appreciate you coming here. I want to have you on here as much often as you want. And just like how when we were with DSG, and I told you, dude, we can do this, man. This is like the beginning days of. Remember, I'll tell you, we're gonna look back and be like, dude, remember we had that conversation in the canyon? And like, dude, these are the early days. And the last episode, obviously, because it was based off Chris, who was a ranger and was seen a lot with Travis Raids, who was the fake Green Beret, and they were doing all these huge projects with multi-million-dollar companies. I had him on, and it's a big episode, and I loaded it up, and within less than an hour, it was triple digits of hours listened to. I'm not sure what it's at now. So clearly, if people we're getting good reviews. So just like how in the canyon that we were at, I told you, like, hey, these are like the beginning years. And we're gonna look back and talk about it. I feel like this is what the podcast is going to be like. And no matter what happens, I want you to feel like you can count on me. whatever it is
dude.
you do. And dude, this platform is yours whenever you want it, and people that you might know of or you recommend, dude, you're a sponsor. I remember, dude, I told you, I was like, dude, just send me like $1 and I'll say you're a sponsor. This way I'm not lying.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you send me more than a fucking dollar, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you. And it was a pleasure having this conversation because I just catching up, man. I haven't seen you in a while.
Dude, I know.
We went from seeing each other multiple days a fucking week.
Yeah.
And not just like we saw each other like a couple hours one day, a couple hours the next day. No, dude, we were together 24/7, 24/7.
Yeah.
And then, so I haven't seen you in a while, man. You have a bright future. You have a good story, and hopefully this helps out a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on. And for people who don't know, how can they reach you, or what is the IG handle?
Yeah, so the way they could reach me. Well, first of all, I want to say, dude, thank you, man. Dude, and it is good. And I feel like just this conversation is just us like just hanging out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was yeah, dude, I missed you, man. And that hashtag I put in, the homosexual, dude. Like, yeah, it was really funny because as I put in hashtag homie, and it was like homosexual was like one of the first ones. I was like, boom, right there, right?
Dude, I saw the hashtag homosexual and I was like, how I've never thought about this.
That's what I was saying, but I was like, apparently it's that popular because it was like the first one that came up when I was putting homie. I was like, how have I never heard of that? So I was like, dude, I'm okay, the homosexual for Angel, dude. But and it was funny when I was telling Larissa, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna meet up with Angel again. She's like, oh, you're gonna kiss and whatever, like. But she's always giving me a hard time. Like anytime, like, you know, the Thrash-N-Raid team, like Logan and I get together, same thing, dude. But dude, I appreciate.
I want him to be on too.
Yeah, Logan's dude, he's such a good dude, man. Oh yeah, so they could reach me pretty much people that don't know, and we talked about earlier, like, you know, you reach out and they think like you're gonna hit some customer service guy that's like on the IG handle or something, but it's at Thrash_N_Raid, and that's how you reach us. A lot of people sometimes will go to our backup account, which is just Thrash-N-Raid, at Thrash-N-Raid.
Yeah.
I should probably have switched those, you know, like, but
too late.
I know it's too late, but yeah. And the reason why we created that second is because Instagram was shadow banning pretty hard for a while, and so we had to create that backup. But yeah, they can reach me there. info@thrashandraid.com, and then, dude, I'm just gonna throw out, dude, 951-551-0844, because I give out my number all the time on my Instagram anyways when people reach out, but I might as well just do it.
Oh
anyways.
shit,
dude, I know. Just don't send any weird dick pics or anything.
Minimum 10.
What's that?
Minimum 10.
Minimum,
dude.
yeah, yeah, it's coming. Won't be the first time, but dude, I genuinely have a love for people, want to help people, and if they reach out and they have a question about something, I'll give it my time. Obviously, my family and all that comes first, a priority. But if someone's really struggling, like, I'm there for them. And I don't spend hours on the phone with people like you do and trying to help people out just because, you know, I'm not like asking for payment for it. I do it because I genuinely love people and I want to see people succeed.
Yeah.
So that's how they can reach me. And dude, I'm just super stoked to be here.
And then the 6 feet above.
Oh yeah, dude. And for 6 feet above, like, you know, you could go to at 6_FT_above, and that's our 6 feet above IG handle. 6feetabove.org is going to come online in the next couple weeks, so that website will be available. Riley and I were like hitting the computer with a hammer trying to get the site up, but we ended up realizing, okay, we're gonna need some professional web developers, so that's what we did, and so it'll be up in a couple of weeks. And yeah, with 6 feet above, dude, I am so stoked on what's gonna get accomplished there. We already have so many backers and supporters that want to help veterans and service members that are battling their issues. They're not suffering with it, they're battling it, and we want to help them realize that no war is fought alone. Like, you have the support, you have the QRF en route, and we're there for you. So dude, Angel, I appreciate this, dude.
Dude, anytime, dude.
Dude, I'm looking forward to steaks and
dude, let's do it, dude. Let's celebrate, dude. Let's do this, man. Again, thank you everybody for coming. The feedback has been fucking positive. Somebody told me, dude, you sound like you have prior experience podcasting or interviewing. Dude, I don't. I just say like again, one of the secrets to success is like I literally just do what I think is cool or funny, post stuff that I think is funny. What a lot of people don't know is that they'll message me or they'll be like, dude, I didn't know that your story is a meme page. Like you have your regular Instagram, but your story is a meme page. It's like you're the first story IG meme page I've met. Like you're regular on, and I'm like, yeah, dude. And they're like, how do you find all this stuff? And I'm like, I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
Or so what I'm going with this is that I just ask the things that I'm thinking, and I have no podcasting experience, no fucking whatever. But the reviews have been great. So thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate time more than money, more than material things, because no matter how much money you have, you can't get that time back.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.